Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
100% ready to go. It's been a long time coming, and I just can't wait to be out there.
That's why we play football in the SEC, trying to go get it done.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Good Thursday morning, Bryan College Station. Welcome to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. I'm Ryan Brauninger inside the Rollo Insurance Studios, filling in for the day. And when I'm the host of the show, we like to call it the B-Team Day. So we're going to start with Brauninger and Buchanan for the B-Team Day, which you've been called a B-Teamer your whole life, so you shouldn't.
I've always been on the B team.
Yeah, you should never be, shouldn't be offended by that.
I'm not.
I know you're very easily offended by a lot of things that happen in your life.
Yeah, that's me. I'm always very easily offended. I mean, I've lived the whole life on the B team.
Yeah,
in every way.
You're right
possible.
at home. You're right
Yes,
at home.
I'm right at home.
All right, we would typically be over at the Holistic Planning Cool Zone, but because this is a B-Team show, and anywhere Olin Buchanan sits
is the cool zone.
Is the cool zone. Holistic Planning, the NFL recently became the last of the Big Four North American sports leagues to allow private equity firms to acquire ownership stakes in its teams. For years, professional sports investing was reserved for the ultra-wealthy, not anymore. If you're interested in learning about professional sports investing and to determine if it may be appropriate for you, Holistic Planning is your ticket. Go to investinprosports.com today. Like I said, I'm Ryan Brauninger filling in for David today. Nick will be in the host chair tomorrow. Very busy show. We have the Go Hour presented by Maroon U. Maroon has never looked so good as it does with Maroon U. Go visit the warehouse right there off of Holloman and Welburn. Very thankful for all of our sponsorship. Boss Firearms Hotline, if you want to interact with the show, 979-693-1150. Little Sluggers text line. Same number to call or text. I don't know how David does all this. I mean, I've talked about this before. His show rundowns, they're all in different colors. And it scrambles my brain. But he's got all these things. Miranda upstairs in the sales and marketing department, she has been putting in work.
Yeah, we've got sponsors.
We do. We got a lot of stuff we got a lot of sponsors. I'm going to screw
product.
it up. And I just hope I don't call it TexAgs Radio. I haven't done it yet. It's my second time to TexAgs Live. I'm going to screw up some of these, Nick, these ad reads. So Nick is there as backup. So where we are the B team, Nick is technically the C team.
He's got the A team.
He is. Nick is the A team.
I pity the fool that thinks he's not.
Nick makes this whole ship go in the mornings. It's not David. It's Nick. What did you make a joke that I didn't hear?
I just said I pity the fool that thinks he's not the A team.
Oh, that's right. Over in the Angry Elephant, Aggie's Gathler at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center, Mr. Juan Palomo. Good morning, Juan.
How are you guys? Good morning.
I'm all right. I've got a lot of stuff to get to today with you.
Okay.
We got to do Heisman Watch at 8:20.
Okay.
I have some very differing opinions than you do.
Okay. That's fine.
Of your 5 Heisman. If what's on the rundown is your 5, we've got some things to talk about.
Okay.
And then 8:30, one of my favorite guests and one of your favorite guests I think for different reasons, but Stephen McGee, former Texas A&M quarterback.
Love McGee.
I tried to get McGee to do my finances. Called him. I said, "Hey, do you think you could maybe help me out with this?" He's not in my price range. He might be in your price range.
No.
He ain't in mine.
No. My plan for retirement is to buy as many.
How long is that?
Well, hopefully about I'd like to work till I'm 70. About 7 more years.
Oh, I thought that would be about 30 more years for you.
Yeah, I wish. Anyway, my plan for retirement is to buy as many lotto tickets as possible. Increase my chances of winning the big jackpot. That's
your plan?
That's my plan.
Well, I bet McGee can at least talk to you about that plan. But McGee's coming in. at 8:30. We'll talk to him. Ryan Swope at 9 o'clock. I'll love McGee and Swope. If the on-air conversations with those two match what happens in the lobby when I'm lobby lizarding, this should be a good spirited,
of course,
30 minutes to an hour of radio.
Listen to that.
And then at 9:30, real treat here. We're going to have the Texas Aggie baseball assistants, all of them.
All of them.
So Caleb Longley, Will Fox, and Jason Kelly are going to join the show at 9:30. They'll stick around till about 10 o'clock. What you got?
Think they'll stick around longer than the previous assistants?
Moving on, 10 o'clock hour, we have the fan show. We also have prize picks with Matthew Dawson. As we get into, Olin, what should be a really fun weekend of college football. A great slate of games. But we're going to start this morning with, you took a little trip down to Houston yesterday, and I knew that you were going to do something important when I saw you in the office yesterday morning, and you were dressed like you were either going to try to sell me insurance that I didn't want, or going to a funeral of somebody that you barely knew.
Well, yeah, I wasn't wearing shorts, and I had on socks. And in East Texas, that means I was going formal. But yeah, everybody's favorite college football coach, Mike Elko, was speaking at the Houston Touchdown Club yesterday.
Big fan of the Houston Touchdown Club.
Yeah,
I go down there every
year.
They do
a great job, Neil Farmer and all those guys, and we appreciate it. And Coach Elko, you know, the journalist in me always says, keep your relationship with the coach strictly professional, which it is, and never be a fan of the coach, and never trust what you think about somebody based on 10 to 15-minute intervals of conversation. But dang it, every time I hear that guy talk, I like him more.
Yeah. So what was the gist of what he said yesterday? You know, you wrote an article about it, but he interacted with about 250 Aggies in the room and took questions.
Yeah, in fact, he barely opened up and just talked with a, quote, speech. You know, he just basically introduced himself and made a joke and then said, look, you came here to, talk to me, so I'll just open it up for questions. So it was like 2 minutes of, quote, speech, and then the rest of it was taking questions, which I thought was actually pretty cool because, the people there were able to say, hey, this is what I want to know. And you know what? He was pretty open about it. He was funny. Like I said, he has a good sense of humor. Somebody asked him about the big game that's coming up on your schedule, one of the biggest games in all of college football that everybody's looking forward to. And he said, yeah, I knew Mississippi State was a big game. Mm-hmm. Got a good laugh out of that. And he said, yeah, I think you're the 5 millionth person that has told me this.
Well, and he said, Texas. And he answered it so with some humor. Yes. He understands what everybody's talking about, but he also, I think he made a quote with, if we started talking about that game, it would be a disservice to what this team has done and what it plans on doing.
Plus, that game is always going to be huge, no matter what the circumstances are. But with every win you get now, the magnitude of that game increases. And just what if you're 10-1 when you play them?
Well, if you're 10-1 when you play them, you might be playing them in back-to-back weeks.
You might be, or you might be knocking them out a trip.
Sure. There's a lot of interesting scenarios with that game. Did you know Army-Navy could play for a conference championship in 1 week and then play each other again the next week in the traditional Army-Navy game? They're both undefeated.
Yeah, they are. Did you know that and I like to make, of course, I'm going to make everything about myself. But if A&M was to get to the SEC championship game, and yes, I know, look, all that matters is Mississippi State, because you never take a win in Starkville for granted, no matter what the circumstances.
You hate that stadium.
I hate it. I hate
Davis Wade Stadium. You know what I've always likened Starkville to? I tell people that on the message board, people in town, when they ask me about going to Starkville, I said, if you like driving 9 hours to go to Lufkin, go to Starkville.
9 hours to Lufkin.
That's what it feels like to me when I get it.
It is a long drive. It's a long 2-hour drive from Jackson. Anyway, but if the Aggies can get to that championship game, it's on my birthday. What a great birthday present would be for the Aggies to win the SEC championship on my birthday.
And
then I will take credit for
hypothetical question. We'll see how everything turns out that we were talking about in the lobby on Monday. If you play Texas in back-to-back weeks, so if you play, you're going to play them at the end of the season, but if you play them again in the SEC championship game, and you got to pick, you get to split with them, 1-1. Which one would you pick to win?
Well, I mean, if I knew that I was going to win one and lose one, and one of them was going to be here at Kyle Field, and one of them was going to be for the SEC championship, of course I want the championship.
Sure. But the thing is, the thought process behind winning at Kyle Field is you're going to insure yourself into the playoff.
Yeah, but you're going to insure yourself in the playoff. In fact,
because if you win the championship,
yeah.
I would pick the championship too.
Yeah.
But it was just, there's some people that are going to have some sentimental value tied to the game here, and they don't want to see A&M lose on Kyle Field.
I want a trophy. That's what I want. I want trophies.
Well,
I got a trophy wife. I want trophies.
Now, I guess I have a trophy wife too, babe, if you're listening.
And you know what?
She's not listening.
She has a trophy husband, a participation trophy.
Irma, please call in, 979-693-1150.
I'm a participation trophy husband.
We'll let Irma, she can either comment, she can text in. We'll see what she thinks about having a trophy husband. But, it's got to be, the last time I hosted this radio show was the Tuesday after Notre Dame.
Okay.
Boy, how things have changed.
Yes, they have.
In terms of the vibe around the program. So Mike Elko goes and does his speaking engagement after 5 consecutive wins, going into the bye week. The mood in the room yesterday at the Houston Touchdown Club must have been very upbeat.
Oh, it was, like I said, hearts were light. Laughter was loud. Jokes were funny. Everybody was in a good mood. And why not?
Well, and I think
I saw Jake Hubenek there, by the way.
Really?
And Ernest Crowder.
I saw Jake at, he was in town.
And Warren Braunhorst.
So a lot of former players.
Yeah.
I saw Jake. He was in town for the Consol College Station football game on the sideline. I saw Coach Turner was there. It was kind of a who's who on the sideline there that night. But, it's incredible to me that if you go back to that Tuesday after Notre Dame and you read the message board and you read the text coming into the show, now on the Little Sluggers text line, the calls, the YouTube chat. Boy, there were some folks that were ready. This was actual discussions had, Olin Buchanan, on our message boards, that the Florida game was going to make or break Mike Elko's tenure. And it was a multi-page thread. Have we gotten to the point now with basketball has shown you this? We're halfway through the football season, so there's a little bit of evidence here. Baseball has certainly shown us this, that you don't need these you don't have to make overarching judgments and emotional reactions based off what you see in one weekend.
Yeah, didn't Jackie Sherrill lose his first game as A&M coach?
There's a lot of them. Do you know?
Didn't Bear Bryant lose his first game as A&M coach?
Well, you go look around college football at what
I don't know if
Kirby Smart. You know what Steve Sarkisian's record was in year one?
Yeah, it's like
I think he was 5-7.
Yeah.
So
look at Nick Saban lost to ULM in his
and everybody
first year
says, well, it's different nowadays. The atmosphere in college athletics, you can flip a roster in 1 year and you can have success in year one. Okay, if that's true, where's your evidence of that? What coach recently has had a massive amount of success in year one?
In year one? Yeah.
There's not a lot of them.
And even
Brian Kelly?
Massive success.
I think he was 9-3 and he went to an SEC championship game, didn't he?
Yeah.
Sonny Dykes.
Yeah, he's in the Big 12. That doesn't really count because we're talking about major college football.
And what has he done since?
Sam Pittman. I mean, they won 9 games at Arkansas. That's major. They went from our Kansas back to Arkansas.
But your examples, and Sonny Dykes and Sam Pittman, are, okay, even if it happens in year one, doesn't mean that you're going to sustain any of that success.
It's absolutely.
So this rush to judgment because we live in this microwave society that we've got to make definitive statements after 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks of a head coach's tenure, it's crazy to me.
Crazy.
And I don't understand that emotional response. And like the article that I wrote this week about recruiting is like, this is something that I've been thinking about. The topic that I had was something that I've been thinking about, but I didn't want to write it amongst the angst of the fan base and message board early in the season. Now that A&M's 5-1 and going into the bye week, I felt like people would be a little bit more pragmatic in their thinking.
That's where you and I are differ.
How's that?
Well, because you were measured about the way you're going to do it. I'm like, everybody's upset. I'm just going to go in there and tell them why they're wrong, and create even more angst and division.
Well, I didn't want to tell people why they were wrong.
That's who I am.
There was a notion going around that people were definitively stating that this is going to be Mike Elko's most talented team in his tenure at Texas A&M. I'm like, A,
how do you know that?
There's no way to know that. There's no way to know that. And B, if it is, he should get credit for constructing it as so. Because if you look at all the players that are making plays on Saturday, a lot of them were recruited by Mike Elko. A lot of them.
Yeah, at least one of them should have been recruited earlier.
Well, and then you go back to whenever he was the defensive coordinator here, and you look at Bryce Anderson, and I know Tyreek Chappelle's injured, and Shamar Turner. All of those guys were recruited by Mike Elko out of high school.
Hey,
so
you don't have to sell me.
You can't say, and there were a lot of people saying this during that window in the first couple of weeks, you can't say Elko has to win because this is his most talented team he'll have, and then turn around and also say, well, I'm worried about him as a recruiter. Both of those things can't be true. If this is his most talented team, if that is true, then he is a good recruiter, and you have to give him credit for that.
Well, I think you can, because recruiting's not just high school guys anymore,
sure,
right?
Yeah.
I think you got to look at what they've done in the portal and how, gosh, man, he's got a higher batting average than that guy from Georgia last year.
Braden Montgomery.
He's got a high, when you hit on Nick Scorton, everybody knew you were going to with that one. Mm-hmm. But when you add Ratcliffe
has been a great
fight. Maj Reed Adams and Cyrus Allen and Joe
Coley Fayu. How big is he?
Coley. And, you just go down the list of guys they brought in on the transfer portal. Will Lee.
Yeah.
And, that guy spraying hits all over the outfield.
When we come back, we're going to get to Olin's Heisman list. We're going to do Heisman Watch, Stephen McGee at the bottom of the hour. A lot more to get to as we get rolling here on a Thursday morning on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggie Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Lucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggie Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggie Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Lucci sent you by.
So I have specifically requested for the bumper music in the first hour is going to be all reggaeton music because David's not here, and I hope he hears it, and he gets very upset.
Could we? Look, I have no issue with ethnic music and Latin music, right? No issue at all. But if you're gonna, can we get some Freddie Fender?
Wasted
some Mavericks?
No, I've got a whole playlist. I've got a little bit of everything for the day.
The next Teardrop Falls.
Wasted days and wasted nights.
Sounds like my whole life.
Ryan Brauninger and Olin Buchanan, the Go Hour, presented by Maroon U. This is TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers inside the Rollo Insurance Studios, and it's time for Heisman Watch, which is brought to you by Shirtlift Law. The Heisman Watch, brought to you by Shirtlift Law Firm. Hunter is a friend of our company,
yes, he is.
TexAgs, and we trust him with our legal needs. Call Shirtlift Law today when you need a lawyer for your business or personal issues. We go to Olin Buchanan.
All right, so you say you're going to be disagreeing with me?
I already know. I already know because we've already talked about this in the lobby.
Okay, so number 5 on my list, my top 5 newcomer. I'm putting in Kyle McCord, the Syracuse quarterback. You know, he's the guy transferred from Ohio State, and man, the way he's playing, Buckeyes are missing out, right?
Syracuse has kind of gone under the radar. They're playing pretty well. New coaching staff, Elijah Robinson up there. Fadil Diggs is having a nice season.
But I think as good as those guys have been, the impact they've made up there with the orange, man, Kyle McCord, that's the guy. Last week he completed 40 of 63 attempts for 355 yards.
He threw it 63 times?
63. And 3 touchdowns
after that.
For 355 yards and, like I said, 3 touchdowns in a victory over then number 25 ranked UNLV. He averages 362.8 passing yards to rank 2nd in the nation. Overall, he's thrown for 1,814 yards, 17 touchdowns. Those 17 touchdown passes is also the 2nd highest in the nation.
Man, they're going to have a chance. Syracuse is going to have a chance to win some games.
Yeah.
Have you looked at their schedule?
Well, they're in the ACC, so of course.
But they don't. I don't see Miami or Clemson on here. Am I missing something?
Well, I mean, I'm not looking at the schedule, so I'm going to have to take your word for it.
Let's see. NC State, Pitt.
That's a win. Pitt's
they got Miami in the last week, November 30th.
Okay. So, but where's that game?
Let me click on it.
Is it Miami?
It's in Syracuse.
Oh, it's in the old Carrier Dome.
But look at, NC State, Pitt, Virginia Tech, Boston College, Cal, UConn, and Miami. I mean, Syracuse could win 9-10 games.
They could. And you know what? Because Kyle McCord's playing college. Number 4. Are you going to disagree with this one? Dylan Gabriel, the Oregon quarterback. He's from Hawaii. He's passed for 257 yards and 2 touchdowns and rushed for a touchdown in that 31-10 victory over Michigan State last week. He has passed for 1,449 yards. And what am I saying? Well, anyway, he's having a big year. He has passed for 1,449 yards.
I'm on a wait and see with Dylan Gabriel, like this weekend.
Well, how much you got to wait? I mean, the guy's
I'm talking. They ain't played nobody.
That's true. Well, they played
he's
Boise.
Just been okay.
He's been as good as he's needed to be.
Right. Hasn't been elite. So what I'm saying is, get back to me after this weekend when they play the Buckeyes.
Well, yeah, this could be this week's game could be a candidacy-making game for Dylan Gabriel. What do you think, Juan? Dylan Gabriel, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for that amazing insight.
That broadcasting school really paid off.
Number 3. You may disagree with this one too. Juan might even, but I'm still feel good about this. Even though they lost last week in the most high-profile loss maybe ever, Jalen Milroe, the Alabama quarterback, Katy, Texas native.
Katy Tompkins.
He had a pick 6 last week, but he also threw for 310 yards and a touchdown, and he ran for a touchdown. He's ranked 15th in the nation in total offense. He has passed for 1,274 yards, rushed for 283, and he's good.
Because of the way the Heisman Trophy goes, what it's described at and what it actually is are 2 different things. That loss to Vanderbilt is going to hurt him. And I think you docked him one spot, I think, right?
No, I had him 3rd last week. But you have to quarterbacks throw interceptions. They do.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that. It's just the team loss is going to look bad.
Yeah.
It shouldn't because this is an individual award, but we all know that unless you're having just an outstanding statistical season, there's some team success that goes with it.
There is. Tim Tebow won it in a year where he had 3 losses, and then they lost the bowl game. But yes, a lot of times the candidate will get docked for what his team did. But when your team scores 35 points and you're the starting quarterback, it's hard to point at the quarterback and says you're the problem.
Go ahead.
All right,
Keep going.
Here we go. Number 2 on my list, Ashton Jeanty, the Frisco, Texas native who plays for the Boise State Broncos. Last week he rushed for 186 yards and 13 carries and scored 3 touchdowns against Utah State. You say, big deal, it's Utah State. Those are great numbers. He did it all in the first half. He didn't even play in the second half. Guy is this
is where we disagree.
Okay. Let me tell you what he's done first, okay? He leads the nation with 1,031 rushing yards and 16 touchdowns. He has rushed for 260 yards or more, or 260 yards more than the next most productive running back. Averages nearly 11 yards per carry. Halfway through the season, and he's averaging almost 11 yards a carry, 8 runs. 8 of his runs have covered at least 50 yards. 4 have gone for 70 yards or more.
He's in the midst of what is likely the best season by a running back. Could be since Barry Sanders.
It could be.
And if he gets to 3,000 yards,
he's
locked it up.
You know why he won't? Because his coach is not letting him play in the second half.
We'll see. At the end of the year, we'll see.
Let him play, coach.
But I don't understand. My disagreement is, how do you have him 2 above? Well, I'll let you make your case.
I'll tell you why. Number 1, I have is Cam Ward of West Columbia, Texas. He threw 3 touchdown passes and ran for another in the fourth quarter to rally. Actually, it was 2 touchdown passes and it ran for a touchdown just in the fourth quarter alone to rally Miami to a 39-38 victory over Cal. They were assisted by the officials, but not when Cam Ward was out there. Ward passed for 437 yards in that win. He leads the nation with 2,219 passing yards and 20 passing touchdowns. He's also run for 161 yards and 3 touchdowns. I was ready to put Ashton Jeanty number 1 on my list. It's kind of like 1A and 1B, but it's still 1 and 2, right? And then that fourth quarter happened. And that's where I think you win a Heisman Trophy, is when your team is in trouble. Do you rescue? Do you snatch victory from the jaws of the thief? Do you snatch victory 1? No.
This guy.
Yes, he did.
Deep insights over there at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Here's my problem. He's going to need – that can't be a Heisman moment. I'm sorry.
Why can't it be?
Because you're playing at midnight in Berkeley against a team that's no good.
Well, they beat Auburn.
He's going to have another moment. He's going to have another moment in a big game.
He's had a lot of moments. He's leading the nation. And
he's been great, but Ashton Jeanty has potentially been generational.
Wait. So you're saying that you got a problem with Ash?
And we also have another.
Cam
you have
Ward.
an omission too, by the way.
Okay, we'll get to that. You got a problem with Cam Ward because he beat a bad Cal, but you don't have a problem with Ashton Jeanty when he's played Portland State and when he's played Utah State.
Has Cam Ward played anybody as good as Oregon? No. And Ashton Jeanty was the best player on the field with Dylan Gabriel on that field.
I agree. He was the best player on the field in that game. They should have given him the ball more. But that's why I have him 2 and Dylan Gabriel.
Now, your omission.
What's that omission?
Is Travis Hunter.
All right.
What is the Heisman Trophy is for what?
The most outstanding player. Mm-hmm.
Travis Hunter is the most it has to be one of the top 5 most outstanding players in college football.
I think Travis Hunter may be a guy that could be the first player taken in the draft. I don't think he will be, but he could be. Is he outstanding? Yes. Is he most outstanding? No. I know he plays both ways. He's third in the Big 12 in receiving.
Right now, he's the second highest odds according to, I don't know if we can promote.
But right now,
second highest odds.
Right now, he has 46 catches, very impressive. 561 yards, 6 touchdowns. Very impressive. I'm not saying that's not
Was it
very
2
impressive.
interceptions and 5 PBUs? We've not seen anybody since Charles Woodson impact the game on both sides of the football like Travis Hunter. And Travis Hunter.
Yeah, I didn't vote for Charles Woodson either. I voted for Peyton Manning.
What is your reasoning for not having him in the top 5? Like behind Dylan Gabriel and Kyle McCord?
I don't think he is the most outstanding player.
Okay.
I think he's
it's
outstanding.
It's a difference of opinion.
Well, look.
There's some guys on these odds lists that you can get good value on right now. Like if Jackson Dart, he played pretty well last week.
You want to bring up strength of schedule.
Well, what I'm saying is he's playing an all SEC, or he's playing the SEC schedule from here on out. And if Jackson Dart plays well and they keep winning games, there's good value at Jackson Dart right now.
I had Jackson Dart as high as number 2, I think 2 weeks ago.
You know who's at number 10 in the odds?
No.
Somebody we talked about before the show is the most overrated, overhyped player.
Are we still talking about
Nico?
In the offseason, look, I don't have any issue with Nico. I'm leaving on a jet plane. No issue with him. But I couldn't understand the preseason hype for him because it was based on what? That you had a big game against Vandy last year?
And it's a Heupel offense, yeah. But that Heupel offense has proven to be maybe not as efficient as we thought it would be.
Well, Jimmy's and Joe's X's and O's.
Sure. All right, when we come back, we'll talk to a quarterback who may have an opinion about Dylan Gabriel and about Jalen Milroe.
I have argued over quarterbacks.
I know he's got one on number 15. So we'll see. We'll get to it. Stephen McGee on the other side of the break. When we come back on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, welcome back to TexAgs Live. Bottom of the 8 o'clock hour, getting a little bit ahead of myself. We welcome in former Texas A&M quarterback and our financial wizard at Paragon Financial, Mr. Stephen McGee, who we had quarterback opinions, Mr. McGee, at the end of last segment. By the way, this is TexAgs Live presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. We had quarterback opinions of Heisman Trophy last segment. I'm not going to ask you to get into Cam Ward or Jalen Milroe or Dylan Gabriel, but you have strong quarterback opinions about 15 in Maroon after what happened Saturday.
Yeah, we're jumping straight into it, aren't we? Yeah, we're going head first. I love this.
I'm all about business today.
I love it. I can tell you are.
Just like before, let's get a disclaimer now. He did predict a great NFL career for Danny Etling.
Whoa. Hold on. I get down my refutal here. Hold on. Let me do a quick. I said Danny Etling would get drafted in the NFL. He got drafted in the NFL, and Danny Etling played for 12 years in the NFL. I didn't say
12 years.
10 years.
10. Do you realize how
10 years.
old?
Give me 10.
That was like 2016, wasn't it?
Hold on. Fact check it. Let's do a little presidential debate real quick. This dude, here's my point. He played in the NFL for a long time.
He was on an NFL team for a while.
How many years?
I'm looking. He sure played a lot for
18,
the
19,
BC Lions.
20, 21.
You like him because he played in Canada.
No, he likes him because he's a drop back passing quarterback.
Hey, listen, I'm watching the game on Saturday in the zone with Nathan Hernandez, who runs the tap. Shout out Nathan, great dude. Gave me a seat, sat next to him, and Connor, they're driving toward the north end zone. Connor throws a check down to Le'Veon, gets him like 12, 15 yards. And I turned to Nathan and I said, Stephen McGee is loving this. He loves a good check down. He threw one to Amari Daniels, got it from, you broke the play down, got it from 2nd and 13 to 3rd and 3. Quick hitter.
A little flat route.
A&M missed the blitz.
In the high red.
Right.
A little flat route. What I love most, let me just be really frank. Do I love a drop back passer? I do. Because the best quarterbacks of all time have been drop back passers.
Yep.
There's not one quarterback that has been a dual threat guy that I can think of that is going to win a Super Bowl, or caveat here, there are two that I can think of that are college players that played at a very high level national championship. But forget about that conversation. We've already digested that. I just like quarterbacks that play fast and play decisive. If you want to run, great. I understand the games are trending toward guys that can do both. But at the end of the day, even if you can do both, you've got to win from the pocket. And if you're going to win from the pocket, you got to get the ball out on time, play fast, and be accurate. People want to, oh, wow, that guy can throw a ball 85 yards in the air like the kid from Tennessee there. That's great. That's awesome for pregame. It'd be great if you're like the Globetrotters of the NFL. That's not real football. Drew Brees could throw it 40 yards. But my gosh, that guy was a surgeon on a football field.
It's the difference between being a prospect and a player.
Yeah.
A great prospect, you go watch him in shorts and a T-shirt, he'll throw it 80 yards in the air, really high RPMs, but that doesn't make you a good player. That makes you a good prospect.
Well, yeah, it's like all these EV cars out there. Like they're great conceptually until you have a hurricane blow in town, you're stuck on a bridge, and you're like, dude, I don't know if I'm going to be able to charge up to get out of here. So it's all fun and well until you got to go out there and win a football game. You're like, well, what wins football games? Well, I can tell you this. Accurate quarterbacks that don't take sacks, that protect the football, and that get it out on time. And that seems easy, but it's so rare. And that's why I've always loved and appreciated Connor's game. He's not flashy in any one of his skill sets. He doesn't just jump off the charts with arm talent.
I think the accuracy is flashy.
Well, but not to the fans' perspective, because they turn on the film and they're like, I don't understand what you like in Connor so much. And the things I like from a quarterback aren't necessarily the things that a normal fan would love. The arm, the ability to run around and make plays, all the flashy stuff. To me, that is what it is. It's like fool's gold, right? Not everything that shines is gold. Like, those are great, and there are moments, but they're rare moments. The plays that consistently win games are the ones that, in the low red, the little flat route, right? Or the rail route to the running back that we had an explosive play. It was Daniels. No, Bussey. That was the exact play that we did not complete against Notre Dame, right? The same rail route. Remember, he put it down low?
Yep.
To me, that is the difference between winning and losing football games, right? It's here or it's down your feet incomplete, or it's behind and it's a tackle for 5. Now all of a sudden we got an explosive play and it flips the game just like that. Those are the underappreciated elements of a football game that the quarterback has a huge impact on. And look, am I biased at this point? Yeah, I love Connor. I've been saying this for the last 2.5 years. His skill set is so unique. Anticipating a throw as a young quarterback is near impossible.
It's always been, to me, watching Connor grow up and going to his football games since he was a sophomore, that part of his game is always what stood out to me greater than anything else. His ability to anticipate throws, his ability to just slow the game down, like slow heart rate in the pocket, and then his understanding of accuracy and trajectory of the throw. And like, if you throw the ball to Bussey, even if you throw it where you did in terms of height-wise, if there's not enough on it, he's got to wait, and it throws the timing of the whole thing off. He's just got a great sense for how everything's supposed to work and move. And, OB, I'll tell you what my favorite throw was.
What?
Was early in the game on the third down crossing pattern to Jabri with a man draped all over him, because if he doesn't complete that, there was so much, and I'm going to have a Connor rant later whenever I've got an open segment. But if he doesn't complete that,
Connor rant?
No, like jumping on his back. Because the last time I hosted this show was the Tuesday after Notre Dame. And the vibe surrounding that kid has completely flipped from that.
Well, we didn't even talk about the fact that he had to go into a game with all of that weight on him, right?
Sure, that's
the
what I was
mental
getting to,
aspect, right? The strength of it.
Well, I have two thoughts about this whole thing. Is first of all, I really am impressed with Connor's accuracy, and secondly, I'm really surprised with McGee's feelings.
I don't know how he got to an EV.
Oh my gosh!
I don't know how you got to an EV stuck on a bridge from.
There's a hurricane blowing in. You got Hurricane Milton?
I was just impressed that
what are you talking about?
McGee put so much emphasis, on that being a passing quarterback when he was an option quarterback.
Well, that's why I feel so strongly about it, OB. Clearly, it didn't work.
Well, you're in the middle of that rant.
Can I get an amen?
No, you were in the middle of that rant. I didn't want to cut you off, and I was like, so you're saying run the ball 37 times in Lincoln, Nebraska?
Shouldn't happen.
Okay.
Should not happen. Yeah, that's not championship football. Can we all agree to that?
Yeah.
Can we come to a quick consensus?
I think
we hold a quick quorum here.
X's and O's, Jimmy's and Joe's.
Was there a moment? Was it that first throw to Jabri where you felt like, okay, this is the Connor that I think we were anticipating?
I got to be real frank with you. I didn't get to watch the game live.
Oh yeah. Why don't you tell everybody where you were?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. These are details that don't matter.
I've heard you were name dropping. That's the only reason I asked.
You know what I thought, and
your buddy Slope throws you under the bus with 8 kids.
Slopey. So, man, I just tell you, I get it, man. You're only as good as your last performance, right? I mean, that's the reality of football. But if, as a coach, right, you have to look at the big picture and say, hey, what's the body of work? Who is this kid really? Like, did that guy that played against Notre Dame, is that some kid that just stole his jersey? Who's the real Connor? Like, I respect Mike Elko's decision to do that. I would be honest with you. Like, I would have put a less than 10% chance that Connor was going to start that game until all the
So what do you got, Drinkwitz?
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I mean, I had a text coming in all week, and I still didn't believe it. I was like, I don't really believe Connor's getting all the 1 reps. But I had tons I'm like, dude, this isn't, no way. Sure enough, he did. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't care what anybody else says. That was an unpopular decision, right? I mean, I think the fan base largely wanted Marcel. He provides excitement. The kid's a winner. He's a great quarterback, right? Me being high on Connor doesn't mean I'm not high on Marcel, right? He's won 3 in a row, and SEC kid's got a lot there going for him, and it's hard to bench a winner. Do you agree?
Yep, absolutely.
And that took balls for him to say, hey, like, I don't care what the popular decision is. My job as the leader is not to make popular decisions. It's to make hard decisions that are in the best interest of my football team.
Absolutely.
And he said, hey, I'm playing a top 10 team. I'm getting choked up. We're playing a top 10 team this week, and it's in the best interest for me to play this kid that's been hurt. That takes cojones, and I respect it. And that's why I think Mike Elko is the right guy for the job, because I'm not so sure that that's true of any of our previous coaches.
All right, when we come back, more to get to in McGee. Got a lot. We're going to talk about that culture in the QB room and maybe what Mike Elko is building. So come back with us. Stephen McGee on the other side of the break on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
Is it
shout out to Ali Camarillo.
Yeah, I'm looking for him to come to bat.
Yeah, Ali Camarillo's walk-up song brings us back here. 8:53 on a Thursday morning. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Ryan Brauninger and the B team inside the Rollo Insurance Studios. Don't forget, if you want to interact with the show, 979-693-1150 on the Boss Firearms Heartline or the Little Sluggers text line. Real quickly, McGee, I wanted to kind of, you got about 2 minutes, minute and a half to talk about the culture in the quarterback room. And Mike Elko addressed it. I don't know if you watched the Pulse. They showed his post-game speech after the Mizzou win, where he talked about what Connor had done, but also the importance of Marcel winning games and then being a really good teammate.
Yeah, I mean, we're 5-1. I think if you ask any Aggie fan going into this year, if we're 5-1 at this point, going into break number 1, would you be happy? I would say 99% of people say, yeah, I'd be thrilled, especially with the win against a top 10 team. Now, that being said, I would also argue that coming off that shoulder injury, if it wasn't for Marcel, I'm not so sure we're going to be 5-1. His skill set in Florida, I think he really flipped the switch of this football team and got this momentum going. And so much credit deserves and goes to Marcel. I mean, this kid's got an incredible amount of upside and potential. He's a game changer. And I think the thing I appreciate most about Marcel is the way he handles himself away from the field. Like when he comes on set, he's just first class. He handles it like a true professional. I mean, this guy's got some charisma. You can tell.
And Olin, you've got to know his dad a little bit.
Yeah.
Seems like that's where it's coming from.
Yeah, I think so. Great attitude. Doesn't seem to be upset. Or were you ever mad that they were starting Reggie in front of you?
No.
All right, we got to just cut the hour.
We're about
Olin,
to get.
Thanks for sticking around. Go Hour, presented by Maroon U. Olin, be careful on the road. Go on a red stick. And we'll be back. More McGee on the other side of the break. You're listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. 9 o'clock hour on TexAgs Live, doing a little Zydeco this hour for our bumper music, changing it up, switching it up, having something different in the 10 o'clock hour as well. I'm Ryan Brauninger. We like to call it the B team when I'm in the host chair. David Nuno out on assignment/vacation. Nick Savage hosting tomorrow. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers inside the Rollo Insurance Studio. We continue with former Texas A&M quarterback and current financial wizard who gave Olin some advice before he left for Baton Rouge about his tailgate experience.
Olin
Stephen
tailgating at a frat party with his son.
At LSU.
What can't go right?
It's a big game down there. We were just talking about it during the break.
It's going to be it's game of the week, isn't it?
Well, it's an incredible slate. I wouldn't call it game of the week. You got Ohio State, Oregon in Eugene. That doesn't interest you?
That doesn't interest me. Oregon doesn't interest me.
Why? I don't think they've played anybody yet. Like, Olin had Dylan Gabriel on his Heisman, like top 5 Heisman list.
He was good.
He's been fine, but they haven't played anybody. And if he plays well this weekend, then he certainly warrants some inclusion in the Heisman talk.
I agree. I haven't watched enough of them this year, but I've just seen some of the results of the game, and it just kind of seems like the offense has been blah, defense has kind of been blah, just a little hot and cold. I don't know what to expect. But all I care about is the SEC. Are you that way? Do you ever just
I enjoy college football, though, man. I love the 11 a.m. game. Of course, you didn't watch it. We've already gone over that. But 11 a.m., you play. Big win for Texas A&M. And I know there's got to be a lot of Aggies listening in the YouTube chat that went, dude, we won the game Saturday. Let's put our feet up. We're going to grill. We're going to have a good afternoon. And you get to watch college football. Like, I was up till 11 o'clock watching Miami against Cal. Yeah. I love college football. And I'm a baseball guy, but I love Saturdays from 9 in the morning till 11 at night.
So let me preface this. I love college football as well. I like SEC football the best.
Sure.
I love the SEC night games. So you're asking me the game of the week. I like SEC games. I like good quarterback play. You're gonna have 2 good quarterbacks, explosive offenses going at it in that environment. It'll be a great day. And
I still don't know what to think of either of those teams, though.
Well,
we're going to learn a lot.
We're going to learn a lot more,
for sure. But I think Ole Miss's defense is the best it's been in a while. I think that. But I don't know that they've played an offense like South Carolina's offense, even with Lenore Sellers, doesn't inspire a lot of confidence in me that they can move the ball consistently and score points. This will be the best offense that Ole Miss has faced. Remember, they lost to Kentucky at home. Kentucky cannot score points.
They cannot score points, but they pretty stout defense.
And one of the more surprising things to me, at least, this SEC season so far, and again, we're halfway done, but Ole Miss didn't exactly light the world on fire offensively at South Carolina last weekend. I know South Carolina's got a good front.
Yeah.
But Ole Miss hasn't, outside of the FCS, G4 teams they played, they haven't exactly set the world on fire offensively. Same with Nico in Tennessee. Those were 2 offenses going into the year that I thought were going to be elite.
Yeah, so Nico's kind of taking a step back in my book. I love his arm talent. The kid's incredible. Like, you watch him make some of these throws, like, wow, it jumps out on screen, right? But it's all the stuff we talked about in the earlier segment of all the plays between that just normal fans like, it's just a throw to the flat. It's just that those are the type of things I think are the question marks surrounding his game and the consistency of their offense. But Ole Miss, to me, I like watching Lane Kiffin teams, but he is the modern day Mike Leach. Like, they're always going to be competitive. They're always good football teams, but they're going to be 9-3, 10-2. They're never championship caliber. They're never bad teams. They're just kind of stuck in that middle ground. And here they are again this year. They lose one. That's the question. Can you get over that?
Do you think it's the offensive system that makes them that bad? Or is it, those examples you just gave are Texas Tech, Lubbock, and Ole Miss. Are they getting the elite caliber players to run it at its highest level? I don't know that. We haven't seen an Alabama or Georgia or LSU. Well, we did see it with LSU with Joe Brady when he had Joe Burrow and all those receivers, where you're going to a spread, more air it out, up-tempo stuff. With elite athletes, it's worked to a national championship.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I think that there's a philosophy behind the system, though, that, look at what Mike Elko is trying to preach here. What do you think he's saying winning offensive football looks like? Offensive line. It all starts up front. He's made that known, like the identity of our offense is the offensive line. I don't think that could be true of any Lane Kiffin team where they're preaching. I mean, it's always about the quarterback, right? And nothing wrong with that. You got to have a great quarterback to win at the highest level, but it all starts with the offensive line. If you don't have a good offensive line, it doesn't matter how good your running back, wide receivers, quarterback are. They all feed off a good offensive line. That's where it starts. You got to win the trenches.
The last 2 years, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
and then running the football, right? I mean, that's where you win tough football games. That's where this football team has gotten to where they are, is winning in the fourth quarter, that constant push. We are going to commit to running the football. Is that ever been the DNA of the Lane Kiffin coach team? I would argue no, but I do believe that, as much as it pains me to say this as a quarterback, that you do have to run the football to win at a high level. Now, there's a balance there, right? But that's why I like Mike Elko. And we were talking about this earlier. The first 5-1 start since 2020, first 5-game win streak since 2020, first 3-0 start in SEC play since Kevin Sumlin's 2016 team, first 28-plus point victory over a top 15 opponent since 2012. Do you think that anybody coming out of Notre Dame would have said that? I mean, I love Mike Elko. I love the direction of this football team. I love that he is football, football, football. That's all he cares about. X's and O's, running this program, holding people accountable, making sure everyone's on time, coaches, players. That's what it takes to be great. I mean, we talked this offseason, every player's there on time. That's the DNA of good football teams.
Yeah, they don't miss a lift in the summer. Like, all
How about
that
this?
Stuff. Yeah.
How about this message coming out?
It's a flipping culture.
How about this? Yeah, flipping culture. But think about this message that he made very, very public coming out this big win is, I don't care about that win anymore. We're focused on Mississippi State and how we're going to beat them. He knows the mindset of it's always next week. It's always the next play.
Let's go back to his introductory press conference at the celebration at the Hall of Champions. One line he had that stood out to me, and if you watch this team play and you go back and listen to that introductory press conference or that introductory speech, he said, there's not an elevator to success here. We've got to take steps. And what have you seen them do since week one? Everybody wanted to hop in the elevator, press it, we're going to the top.
Yep.
And immediately we want it to happen like that, or the fan base did. But he came in and saying, that's not possible. You've got to take the stairs here. And we're going to take the stairs. So when you talk about not missing summer workouts, and when you talk about guys not being late to class, and when you talk about guys not being late for public appearances in town with, there was a big group of them that went to Bryan High and did some things. Like, that's part of the stairs. And that's part of the culture building process to when you have that win over Mizzou, he can go into the locker room and say, look, I'm super excited about the success, but we better fall in love with how we've gotten some success. So when Marcel Reed comes in and plays at that level and then is a phenomenal teammate when his number's not called, that's culture.
That's culture. I'll tell you what else is culture that no one talks about is when your best players are the hardest working guys on your team, that's culture. That sets a precedence of championship DNA. And I don't think that's been the case you look back, maybe the last 15 years in this program, we've had a lot of really great players, but not necessarily the hardest working guys or the culture setters that you would want them to be. I remember 2 games this year distinctly, Nick Scorton and Shamar Stewart running downfield, pursuing the football 30, 40, 50 yards downfield to try to make a tackle, right? Big guys, physically exhausted, just pursuing the football. That jumped out on tape to me. I said, man, that guy right there is going to play a long time. That's what football teams
I also
want
don't know that Shamar Stewart, that was in his DNA in the past. I think having Nick Scorton next to him on the other side of the defensive line and them becoming so tight and him watching Nick and understanding how Nick works, I think Nick's been a great influence on Shamar and the rest of the defense.
And that's how it works. That's the beautiful thing about culture, right? Yeah. When your best player, that's how you get other good players to buy into the process, right? It's no secret. That's how Alabama, you have one great wide receiver like Amari Cooper, that's just a grinder every day, all about the process. I'm going to be the same guy. I don't care if I'm hurt, injured, rain, shine, I'm at practice. That's the Jason Witten philosophy that, man, you just can't help but be great because you're just going to follow in their footsteps. This guy's a first round. I want to be just like that guy. I'm going to do just what he does. And all of a sudden, you got this culture that is just continuing to build for generations.
We talk about taking the steps. And one of the areas where my very elementary football mind has seen the offense take steps, and if you go back to the Notre Dame game, watch the run game and the timing of everything in the run game. How much better the running backs and Le'Veon are feeling when the linemen are supposed to pull and how patient they need to be and where the hole's supposed to be. Like, I just feel like, you can tell me I'm wrong, but it feels like watching the run game, there's a much better pace and feel for how it's supposed to look and happen.
Yeah, I totally agree. And man, Le'Veon Moss is a guy that doesn't get near much credit nationally as he should, right? I think he's going to, at the end of the year, prove to be one, if not the best running back in the SEC, which is probably going to put him in the argument as one of the best in the country, and deservedly so. I mean, I love the way he plays football. He's tough. The yards after contact, right? And just, man, that permeates, right? And you got to have offensive line DNA, but you have a runner that's tough, right? I mean, and not just when the football's in their hands, right? You got to be a great running back when the ball's not in your hands. When you are in pass pro on third down, and you got to step up and hit a guy right in the mouth, right? You got to be passionate, not just about when the ball's in your hand. You got to be passionate about, hey, I'm gonna go do my job right now and knock the ever living, you know what, out of this kid, blitzing through the A gap. I love running backs like that, and I feel like that's Moss.
Well, and I think last Saturday was kind of it all coming together, but where I thought that this offensive line and this running game made big strides was against Arkansas. And when you're watching it in the moment, you're getting a little frustrated because it's just not happening. You know, it's 2 yard, 3 yard, 1 yard, and it's just not happening. But they just stay after it, And what do we know about Arkansas now? They're pretty good on defense.
Yeah, ask Tennessee.
Right?
Held them to 13, right?
But they just kept leaning on them, and they kept going to it and trusting it. And at the end of the game, what won you the football game ultimately was the running game.
Exactly. And that, to me, is a Mike Elko effect. He's going to say, hey, just keep running it. Don't shy away from the run game just because we've had multiple series where we are, 1 yard, 2 yard, and now we're in third and long. Continue to commit to running the football, knowing that we're going to lean on them, just what you said, and we're going to win that push late. And that's what's happened, right? It's a beautiful thing. And it's not always easy to commit to the run game when you are put in second and long and third and long situations.
We got to talk about a little bit about what happened before the game last week and then what you saw whenever you went back and watched. So Eli Drinkowitz, cornball of a week for him. I'm calling him a cornball, okay? The stuff he did with Theo Weiss and the blanket, that was clearly planted by him or the Mizzou staff. What a ridiculously elementary and, quite frankly, naive thing to do. I mean, it's juvenile at best, right? But he came out and said that they prepared for Marcel Reed and called Connor the other guy. When you went back and watched the game, did it look like that they were prepared for somebody more mobile and more like zone read stuff? Because Connor, and I thought Mizzou changed some coverage concepts based on my look at it in the second half, but Connor was still picking them apart.
So here's my biggest concern all along has been that, can we beat single-high man? We beat single-high man. We saw the fade balls. I thought this was the best week for our wide receiver group. Noah Thomas, Ja'Day Walker. I mean, there were some really competitive catches. Obviously, the running backs out of the backfield. And we had, 10 guys got receptions this week. That's phenomenal, spreading the football around. But you got to be able to beat man coverage. They were stacking the box. Now, there were a couple plays, specifically on my favorite throw of the game, which is that deep two to Ja'Day, right, where he's coming all the way across the field, that 20, 22-yard range across the hash. Pocket starts compressing around Connor. He delivers that throw right there. Boom. Defender, man coverage, draped all over him underneath. That ball could only be in a 1-foot window, and it was. That was my favorite throw of the game. But on that play, you'll see who was lingering in the box, an old spy linebacker, which says to me, that particular coverage and play was designed to spy a quarterback, which, let's not forget, earlier in the game, 3rd and 7, who had a key run? Connor on man coverage, right? So he beat them.
That mesh cross where everything got muddy?
Yeah, everything muddy. One guy fell down. Connor had to react and play and got north and south. And so, look, I don't care who they prepare for. They didn't prepare for. They were going to clearly try to come after the quarterback. And I will say Connor had the answers. They pressured consistently, and he got the ball out of his hands quickly and into the face of the pressure, which is very important. You don't want to throw away from pressure. You want to throw into pressure, and he did that. The rail route, we saw it on the flat route. Look, I'm not buying that argument. Yes, did they prepare for Marcel? I would dang believe they did, but they're going to come out and play a lot of single high, try to slow up the run game and dare you to throw it. That's what they did, and we won that battle.
And it seems short-sighted if you're just going to prepare for one quarterback when we have these injury reports now that have to be filed. Like if you went through that whole week and only prepared for one quarterback, that is really, again, naive, short-sighted by an SEC head coach that's paid too well to do something like that. But I also wanted to ask you about What I love about Colin Klein's offense is you mentioned 10 guys caught the ball. We've also seen games, I think it was against Florida, where 8 guys ran the football.
Yep.
Like, we haven't seen that in the past. And this offense where it may not have a shining star, now Le'Veon Moss could be moving into that realm, that aura, but right now it doesn't have one shining star, so the versatility and multiplicity of it, I really enjoy.
I did too. I remember being frustrated. A-Chain had 13 carries. And then LSU happens, and he had how many, like 25, 30?
How good would that guy be in this offense?
Right? I mean, that's the only thing you can fathom. But to your point, it's the rotation, right? I remember getting frustrated. Like, what is the rotation? And how are we picking the running back? And, like, why are we putting out this kid on this down and distance? And that was always perplexing to me. So let's forget about that era. That's done and gone. But here is this new era, and we're rotating 3 running backs consistently. We got a fresh guy in there toting the rock, and we saw him have a lot of success at K-State. But just because we're rotating in 3 guys doesn't mean that our one guy, Moss, is not getting substantial carries and production. It's working, sometimes putting 2 backs in the backfield, which, look, it's all about personnel groups to me.
I love what they're doing with Bussy. They just kept adding to his repertoire.
Yeah, it's a one underrated thing that people don't realize is, it's not speedball offense, no huddle, but it's no huddle that doesn't allow the defense to do what? Substitute, right? So if I get base personnel out there with 2 tight ends and 1 running back, or 2 running backs and 1 tight end, and they've got 4-3 defense with 3 linebackers instead of a nickel linebacker who's better in pass coverage, now all of a sudden I'm just going to continue to just muddle huddle, right? I'm not in a hurry, but I'm not going to allow them to substitute. Now they're tired, and now I can dictate, hey, if I want to throw it, now I've got the matchup on that linebacker with my running back, or I'm just going to continue to run the football when they get tired late in the drive. That's winning football. Those are little subtleties that I think Colin Klein's done a great job.
Last thing before we let you get out of here, one of the things that a lot of folks nationally talk about with Colin Klein's offense and people that break down football is they talk about he does such a good job at creating numbers in the run game. Can you explain what that means with Colin Klein's offense?
Yeah, so numbers in the run game to me is mostly about single high and 2 high defense. When the safety comes down in the box, if your quarterback is not a runner, right, you do not have numbers. That safety is going to be unblocked. 2 high defense, now we have the numbers. We're going to have a hat on a hat up front, and we'll be able to create it. But when the quarterback becomes a runner, right, in the run game, and even if you are in single high defense, we're not blocking a guy, i.e. a DN, and if the quarterback pulls it, now you got a hat on a hat again, and you create those numbers advantages. Now, flip the script here and say we have run-pass combos where we're going to throw it if it's single high defense. But, oh, by the way, if they line up in 2 high, we're just going to run it, right? So you've heard about run-pass options, RPOs. We saw that done effective against Missouri, right, where they're bringing guys in the box. We throw a fade route to Noah, right? So RPO, you see the lineman pulling. The key there is to get the ball out on time so those linemen aren't downfield, or throw it behind the line of scrimmage where it's not an illegal man downfield. So point is to say there's a lot of ways you can do it. You can do the old run-pass combo where the quarterback comes up and kills it into one play or the other. You could have it after snap, RPO. Or you could just say, hey, let's let it go.
Well, he does so many different combinations of pulling linemen and tight ends, and it's like there's sometimes where you're not blocking the 3 technique. Like that's who you're optioning off of. So yeah. I think when you talk about creating numbers, you can turn a guy loose to recreate your numbers to a certain side of the field.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about the zone read game, right? Is that whether you're reading, in a midline play where you're reading a 3 technique, or you're reading a defensive end on a zone read, or you're reading the front side guy on an outside zone stretch, it doesn't matter. You're not blocking a guy at the point of attack, right? He can't be right. So if he dives and takes the back, now the quarterback, that's
unless you're Nick Scorton, who can play both, seemingly.
And just, tackle the mesh point.
Thanks for sticking around, Stephen.
Buddy.
All right, when we come back, open segment, we're going to talk a little bit more about Connor Gets Your Text in the Angry Elephant News and Social Center, and then we are preparing at the bottom of the hour for the Aggie baseball assistant coaching staff. Excited to talk to those guys. You're listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, that's Wayne Toops bringing us back. If you're listening to us on the radio, however you are intaking our show, we are very appreciative of your listenership or your viewership if you've got us locked in on YouTube. This is TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers inside the Rollo Insurance Studios. I'm Ryan Brauninger, better known as the leader of the B team, because when I'm in the chair, it means the second string's in. Nick with you tomorrow to host a show. I may come to you, Nick. Have your mic ready. I may come to you here in a little bit. We're going to talk. First, we're going to go over to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center with Juan Palomo is going to have some interaction, some folks texting into the show.
Well, I actually have a couple things to talk about, Aggie sports related.
Okay, go ahead.
Texas A&M volleyball claimed its third straight conference win as it downed to Ole Miss Wednesday evening, 3-1.
Jamie Morrison starting to turn the corner a little bit. They're playing well.
Yeah, the Aggies continued their conference success as they secured their third win of the year. In basketball, A&M's basketball team's neutral site matchup with Purdue has been announced as an 11 a.m. tip-off on Saturday, December 14th. In soccer, tonight the women's soccer team plays Vanderbilt at 7 p.m. at Ellis Field.
Trying to capitalize on some momentum there, too.
Yeah.
Coach G and the gals. What was the score of that game they had? They beat Ole Miss?
It's 4-1. They upset them 4-1.
4-1.
I don't know if it was an upset, but they beat them 4-1.
Yeah, they've been playing well, playing better for sure. Don't forget, 979-693-1150 if you want to interact with the show, Boss Firearms Hotline, Little Sluggers text line. I'm going to go back to a point I was making with Olin Buchanan in the first hour. And everybody's gotten to have their say about what's going on with Texas A&M football, Mike Elko, the turnaround. And I mentioned that the last time I hosted this show was the Tuesday after Notre Dame. And a lot of folks then, a whole lot of people had some very strong opinions about the quarterback and the quarterback play. And since then, and since Saturday, a lot of folks have gotten to voice their opinion on Connor and how he's played. So I'm going to take this opportunity to do it myself. The world that we live in now, I think because of the anonymity of the vast majority of it, it's emboldened not only college football fans, but people across all arenas, all topics of discussion. You get to say whatever you want, if it's behind a burner, if it's behind a username, and there's nothing attached to you. You're not taking any accountability for the things that you say because it's not your name on it. Well, I put my name on a stamp of support and approval and backing of Connor Wigman then, and I'm going to continue to do it because I know that kid. I've known him for a long time. I've seen him compete in all different arenas, and I've seen him be the best player on the field at the biggest events in the summer. I've seen him be the best player that was on a baseball field. I've seen him be the best player on the football field in multiple settings, whether it be at a camp, whether it be in a playoff game, whether he be hampered by a hamstring injury against Harold Perkins in Cy Park. I've seen him be good, and when the lights come on, that kid rises to the occasion. And there were a lot of people that had a lot of things to say about him off the field that was completely fabricated, as Mike Elko explained in his post-game press conference. A lot of you listening had things to say about Connor Wigman, whether it be privately or publicly behind one of those usernames or anonymous accounts. And it was unwarranted. And you wanted to make it was an emotional reaction about one bad game. The kid played poorly. He doesn't get any grace. Oh, by the way, he played poorly against a really good defense in a brand new system with new wide receivers, with a lot of new offense faces on the offensive line, and he played poorly. And y'all ready to fold the 10 up on him right after that. Connor showed a ton of mental fortitude. He showed a lot of cojones. He showed an incredible amount of team spirit and toughness. I was super proud of the way he bounced back because it could not have been easy on him to sit there and have to listen to some of the stuff people said. It even goes, it's beyond the A&M fan base. There were a lot of national folks that had an opinion on Connor that they wanted to formulate this opinion after one bad game. I just couldn't believe it, and I wasn't going to stand by it. So I got on here on Tuesday after that Notre Dame game, and I stood up for him, and I'm going to keep sticking up for him because I believe in that kid. I believe in the kind of player he is. I believe his ceiling is the most talented passer of the football that we've seen at Texas A&M in quite some time. That's what I believe Connor Wigman is. I hope he stays healthy and that the A&M fan base gets to see it for an extended period of time. But man, I hope some of you are taking a step back. If you had those things to say about Connor, whether it be on Twitter, on TexAgs, Facebook, whatever, I hope some of you are taking a step back and going, maybe I shouldn't be so quick to judge somebody. How would you like to be judged on your worst day? The guy had the worst day he's had in a college uniform, and everybody wanted to formulate an opinion about him as a human being and him as a quarterback. It was over the line then, it's over the line now. And for him to bounce back the way he did, there was a lot of pressure on him when he took the field on Saturday against Missouri. Because can you imagine, Nick, imagine this. Imagine Connor goes 0 for his first 6, and what the groans and the fan base and the mood inside Kyle Field, imagine what that does to his confidence. You know, when people were already questioning the decision of Mike Elko to start him. So he had to come out and complete passes.
In the face of that, he really didn't leave it up to any doubt because he came out, I think, he was like 4 for 4 to start. I mean, led a touchdown drive right away. So, I mean, he did the opposite of, you know, of folding under that pressure. He accepted it. He was embracing it, and he took it straight to Mizzou and I guess all the haters as well.
And we talked about, you know, he leads the team down to score on an opening drive. But when you dive into it, Brody Green actually texted into the show, former Aggie baseball players stand out. We're about to talk to the Aggie baseball coaches. Brody Green texted in and said his favorite throw that Connor made was actually him drifting to his left, the throw to Noah, where they got the pass interference call. It ended up being offsetting penalty, so the play didn't happen. But that was an incredible throw where he's drifting to his left and threw the ball 35, 40 yards downfield and dropped it in a bucket to Noah. And then, so that penalty offset, then you're facing the third down, you get the over route to Jabri with somebody draped all over him, and he completes it for a first down. Those two back-to-back throws to me is when I knew that Connor was A, healthy, and B, back to feeling like his old self again. And he deserves a ton of credit for sticking through it in the face of adversity, sticking with his team, being patient enough to get his body healthy. I know he wanted to play. I know he wanted to play in the swamp. But Mike Elko had some tough decisions to make. He deserves a lot of credit, but most of the credit goes to Connor Wigman. And I hope that his performance on Saturday will give folks a little bit of a leash and a little bit of grace with college athletes who may struggle. You don't have to make an overarching, definitive, emotional decision in the moment. Sit back, watch the thing play out. He's super talented. All right, when we come back, the Aggie baseball coaching staff, we're going to flip the script, go over to Olsen Field at Bluebell Park, talk to Caleb Longley, Jason Kelly, and Will Fox for the remainder of the hour. You're listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, welcome back to TexAgs Live, bottom of the 9 o'clock hour. Ryan Brauninger sitting in the host chair. Very excited about what we got coming up for the next 25 minutes or so. We're presented by David Garner's Jewelers, and inside the Rollo Insurance Studios, we welcome in the Texas Aggie baseball assistant coaches. From left to right, if you're my left to right, right to left, if you're watching us on the screen, pitching coach Jason Kelly, infield coach Will Fox, hitting coach and recruiting coordinator Caleb Longley. We'll start with you, Coach Kelly. You came to Texas A&M from being a head coach at Washington. We talked to you when you got into town. One thing I have to ask you to start is you just drove. You did something that not many people in the history of the world have done. You drove from Seattle, Washington to College Station, Texas. Can you give a quick highlight, like some highlights and some low points of that drive?
It actually wasn't bad. It was
really.
Yeah, the reason that we have to do it is I've got the 3 dogs and 2 of them can't fly. So, and we're not coming without the dogs. So that's wife's rule. So we went from Seattle to Boise, Boise to Laramie, Laramie to Childress, Texas, and then Childress, Texas here. So it took us about 3.5 days.
So you avoided eastern New Mexico.
I got a little bit of eastern New Mexico, but we didn't stop.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't stop out there either.
But it actually wasn't bad. I mean, it's kind of a normal day in the life for your kids because you've got Wi-Fi in the car, and I just drove the whole thing, and they played video games and watched TikTok and watched Hulu and all the things that they did, and it was good.
Well, it's good that you're now settled here in town, and you guys got to, you and Coach Longley, y'all have gotten to experience now the 12th man. You heard a lot about it. I'm sure it was a big reason why you took the job. Caleb, what did you think of the crowd last Friday night against Houston Christian? I expected it to be big. I could not believe what I saw.
I expected it to be huge, but not that big. I was completely impressed, and it was a lot better being in the home dugout versus the visitors that I've been in before. So it was a ton of fun. Fans seemed to enjoy it. I just could not get over the berms being packed out, not a seat available. It was awesome.
And you have taken on the role as the lead recruiting coordinator at Texas A&M baseball. What has that job been like now that you've got that logo on your chest?
Well, honestly, I think it's the easiest job in the world. I'm recruiting for Coach Early, who every player loves, former, future, present. Coach Kelly on the pitching side. At the end of the day, the atmosphere with the 12th man, it's the easiest job in the country. It's the easiest place to recruit to. So we really have a good idea of who we want, and we just want to make sure we get the right guys. So we got a lot of options, and it's pretty easy at this place with all the great people around us.
Coach Fox, you have been here. These other 2 guys haven't. Did you expect that kind of crowd Friday night?
Expected a little bit less probably, but we expected a big one. We tried to warn these guys what the 12th man is about and how they show up for just about anything, and they showed out.
Coach
awesome.
Kelly, you getting Miles Patton ready to start, was there a decision that went into that with you and Coach Early to maybe start a guy that hasn't been in that atmosphere before? And then what did you think of how he and the guys that were newbies to the Olsen Field mound, how did you feel the pitchers responded?
Yeah, that was a clear reason to give Miles that start, was to just put him in front of some people. Like these guys said, I wasn't expecting 7,000 or however many there were. But to put him out there and watch him kind of handle that effortlessly, not be flustered, was a great sign. And then everybody else, I thought, you give some of those guys credit for being Aggies because they've been here, but they haven't thrown a lot of competitive innings. Mm-hmm. So to see Ty Baker and Luke Jackson and Brousseau and some of those guys do what they did, it was really cool to see. They've been working their tails off and doing everything that we've asked of them, but you just don't know when they get in that environment, and they handled it really well.
There's a lot of those second-year guys that maybe redshirted on the mound that I think are taking massive steps. Everybody will look at this team and talk about Lampkin and Prager and Brad Rudis and Josh Stewart, but how excited have you been about you've inherited all these guys, but maybe the guys that redshirted last year or don't have a lot of innings under their belt that have taken big steps?
Yeah, incredibly excited. I mean, that's the game is different than it's ever been, and the bullpen's what's going to win you games. And to know that we've got some guys that are getting better constantly, and guys that have enough experience here to feel comfortable being here, but yet haven't really proven themselves. And then the confidence those guys have of getting better, like they're seeing results. And hopefully that snowball continues to go down that mountain and get bigger and bigger and bigger with their confidence through the last couple outings of the fall.
Coach Fox, I've asked Coach Early this, and I've asked some of the kids this. How has his voice as the head coach changed, and how's it grown? I want to ask you the same thing. From going as the 4th assistant off the field role to now being a full-time assistant working day-to-day with the infielders and hitters, have you seen yourself grow as a coach in these 4 or 5 months?
For sure, no doubt. My voice has changed a little bit, but I'm still in the cage every day with them, having a good time. Like, it's a pretty fun, easygoing learning environment where we're at. And so from a voice change in the cage itself, not a whole lot. It's the same thing. We go in there, we get to work, have fun doing it. On the field, it's a little different. I'm doing everything day to day with the infielders. So from gameplay to drill work, my voice has changed a little bit in that, but it's been great.
Have you enjoyed having the freedom of kind of doing? I know you had a big influence on the infield routine in the past, but like this is all your show now.
100%. I love it. I love it. It's what I'm best at, and I like to get out there and mix it up with them too.
Yep. Coach Longley, is it fair to say that on the offensive side, Mike is taking the big picture approach, and then you are like in the grind, in the cage, mechanical stuff, or is it kind of a mesh off of one another?
It's just a little of both. I mean, Coach Early, myself, Coach Fox, we're all in there grinding every day. One guy might have a different voice for a separate player, but we've got a lot of good offensive players, and they really enjoy bouncing things off all three of us. So it's been a great combination.
Were you, obviously you scored 20 runs over the course of 12 innings. You got to be pleased with that. But were you pleased with maybe some of the quality that you've taken from the cage and applied in game? And y'all did all that without Gavin, Jace, and Shot.
Right. Well, we get a great look in practice every day. Our pitching staff has gotten a lot better even over the course of the fall. So we get to see really good pitching day in and day out. So I honestly expected them to do that good.
Is there a guy maybe for Coach Kelly, I'll start with you, on the offensive side, when you're going against him that you've seen make some quality strides, you're like, man, this guy is really coming on as a player. And I think whenever I ask that through a pitching coach's lens because you're having to come up with plans to get these guys out.
Yeah, I'm paying attention as much as I can. And there's actually quite a few guys. Yamal George is one that I didn't know anything about.
I love watching him
play. I mean, he's just played great, played with great energy and brings a lot of juice to the dugout. Sorrell's been incredibly impressive for me. Mike has always said, like, this guy might be the best of them all when it's all said and done. And when you see, Jace and Grahovic and those guys, you're like, come on. But now watching him for a couple months, I'm going, holy cow, this guy's the total package. Cash has been really good. I think Caden Kent's been really good. So there's a lot of guys. We saw TK run the bases kind of for the first time in that game with his hair on fire and see something that you go, man, you can't replace that. So I think offensively we're going to be a problem, and I think everybody knows that, but they just don't see how hard these guys have worked, how much kind of little changes they're doing from week to week. It's really been cool to see.
And Coach Fox, y'all played 12 innings, no errors.
No errors. Clean baseball.
Yeah, and has that been – that's one snapshot of the fall, but have you been pleased so far with the progress on defense? Because, I mean, I thought Sawyer Farr looked natural, low heart rate. Wyatt Hensler's going to give you some opportunity to do a lot of different things. Jamal too. Has that been kind of the production that you've seen at practice carry over to that first fall game?
Yeah, we have a really solid group of defenders on the dirt. And we have every guy plays at every different position all through practice. So they're not just a shortstop, just a second baseman. Caden Kent, believe it or not, is an unbelievable shortstop, but he played second base, third base, shortstop, first base last year. So we like to mix it up on positions where they play in practice, and I think that really helps in the game when it all boils down.
Caleb, one of the guys that I think might get overlooked because of the transfer class you guys brought in, because of the returning production, is Blake Benderup. He homers twice on Friday. People forget he was the opening day starter for a national runner-up last year at first base. What have you liked about Blake Benderup since you've gotten to work with him?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I didn't really know a ton about him. Whenever I got here, the first couple of days, I'm asking Mike, like, who is this guy? This guy looks like the real deal. And all he's done all fall is rake. Been just a very minimal adjustments here and there, maybe working on the low pitch a little bit, but all he's done this fall is hit every ball hard from the cage to BP to the game. And I think that's his 5th homer of the fall.
Wow.
So he's had a really good showing so far.
And JK, one of the things that I think we didn't do a good – I'm not saying we, probably me as the baseball analyst here, didn't do a good enough job of last year is kind of talking about the influence of Jack Mahala on the team's success. Since you've gotten here, can you tell us kind of how you and Jack work together?
Yeah, it's been kind of a 3-headed, 4-headed monster with us, with Jack, Jason, and Coach Hutch. Like I think it's a really good group. Jack's obviously incredibly intelligent and at the top of the analytic kind of department part with our guys and kind of explaining things to them. That's the hard part with some of that stuff is the numbers are great, but it's how is it regurgitated to the player where they can really comprehend it. He does a really good job with that, and especially on the hitting end, on the scouting report end, he does a really good job of making sure our players are incredibly prepared. Now the game changes, so you got to prepare them kind of in that way too. But our guys are going to go into ball games with a really clear, defined kind of goal on how to attack hitters and how to attack, and for our hitters to attack pitchers. It's been really cool to see.
All right, when we come back, more to get to with these Aggie baseball assistants. Going to ask them more specifically about a few players that showed out in that fall scrimmage against Houston Christian. When we come back, we'll close the hour as we head into the fan show at the 10 o'clock hour. A lot more to get to on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, got about 3 minutes left with the Aggie baseball assistants on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. I'm Ryan Brauninger. Inside the Rollo Insurance Studios, we're going to start really quickly. Cool video that came out yesterday, Caleb, for a new initiative y'all are starting. So I'll let you take the fan base, the audience through what this initiative is and what comes with it.
12 for 12. Well, there's a great community of fans that surround this program that they want more access to the program. And there's a lot of people that want to help, want to donate, but maybe they can't do it at a $10,000 clip, a $25,000 clip. So with the help of Texas Aggies United, we started a new initiative. If we could get 1,200 people to give $1,200 a year, just $100 a month, it's no secret that the landscape of college baseball's changed. And our kids work really hard. A lot of this money goes to help their book tuition fees, their apartments, their food. So we're excited that there's more access and different tiers and different things to get involved with for these great fans.
And if they want to get involved with it, Texas Aggies United website, or they can go to y'all's Aggie baseball. Where can they find it?
12thman/12 for 12.
12thman.com/12 for 12. All right, JK, a couple of weeks from now, Houston comes in here for the second fall exhibition game. Will we see a different crop of arms throw?
Yeah, you see a little bit of the same, but we're starting to shut some guys down. So there's certain guys that we've kind of gotten to their fall limits, and so they'll be shut down. And then some of the freshmen, we hope to get in there. We will get in there in that game and kind of get their feet wet for the first time. So,
and how did you feel like that Gavin Lyons responded his first time out?
I thought it was great. If you watch him pitch, there's not a lot of emotion or heartbeat to him, but he's an elite competitor, and he did exactly what we asked him to do, which was stay calm and throw strikes.
And Will, we talked to JK about the heartbeat of the pitchers in front of the Olsen Field crowd, but you also had, whether it be redshirt guys like Brady Sullivan, you had two freshmen, Homer and Sam Erickson, Nathan Tobin. TK ran the bases like a madman. Sawyer Farr started at second base. How pleased have you been with the progression of this freshman or new player class?
I think it was really good. A guy like Sawyer Farr, he's been out for a little bit of the fall, so I haven't gotten to work with him every day. But seeing him in that environment, in that game, and the heartbeat that he had, that was pretty special. And then a guy like TK just showing the gamer that he has. We haven't honestly seen that in the fall. I came in the dugout after the pick off to first base, and I was like, he made me make a decision on whether I send him home
on a pickoff.
On a pickoff. Yeah. He was rolling.
Yeah, and the fan base loves seeing him because of who his dad was.
No doubt.
So, it's got to be a cool moment for him. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. We'll talk a lot soon. That's the Aggie Baseball Assistants on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. It'll be an all Treaty Oak revival, hour number 3 on a Thursday morning. Ryan Brauninger sitting in the host chair today in case you're late to the show. David Nuno out for today and tomorrow. Nick Savage in the host chair for your Friday wrap up the week, heading into a Saturday bye date for the Fighting Texas Aggies. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studios and we're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Let's go over to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center where Juan Palomo has some interaction with the show.
Well, I've got a question here from Nolan Moore. He's asking, are there any updates on the proposed baseball park renovations?
I don't think that there's an update. I know Billy got on here with Nuno on Monday to react to the football game, but then he spoke a lot about the baseball atmosphere on Friday night, and Billy was, kind of pounding the table that this renovation needs to get done. I'm in agreement. I don't know that there's an update on a timeline or mock-ups or anything like that. That's a better question for Mike Early. I think it's coming, and I hope it's coming because I love the direction of Aggie football. We're going to talk a lot about that. But what Billy said on Monday, by the way, this is Matt Browning, Hunter Shirtlift, the fan show presented by Prize Picks.
Fan show.
But what Billy said on Monday was like, if you had to make a definitive statement right now, the best thing going in terms of fan base, player interaction, team is Aggie baseball.
Oh, 100%. Baseball was just an absolute blast. It's been an absolute blast last couple seasons, and to have all the guys back that we know and love, which was huge.
And you bumped into a couple of them.
I bumped into a couple of them at the football game, which was fun. So, it's so hard to get in that stadium. I mean, as a fan, the fan show, right? As a fan, it's difficult to get inside that stadium. I've been trying to get season tickets for years in a decent spot. They don't come up. We need a little more elbow room in there, so we need some help.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to outsource Bronny on baseball scoop, but my source is saying, it's a go after the 25 season, right, with the renovation, and hopefully they're going to have some final plans coming out pretty soon. So,
as I said, this is the fan show presented by Prize Picks. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win. To receive the $50 bonus, it's guaranteed. One Caleb Williams passing yard, as long as he stays healthy, gets you one win on Prize Picks every week in September. Well, it's October now, so I'm guessing that's October as well. That's right, only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every weekend in October. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss this deal. I think that's still the same deal. It's on the rundown sheet. Nobody's told me otherwise. So let's just assume.
I'm on it.
You know what happens when you assume.
I'm on it. I don't know if they're offering that Caleb Williams deal anymore, but I'm doing well. I'm doing better on my Prize Picks for the pro games than I am college, I'll tell you.
And you have the sheets in front of you. We'll get to that with Matthew Dawson at the bottom of the hour. But guys, a blowout win at home. When is the last time? And this is one of the things that I was thinking about as I'm sitting in the north end zone of Kyle Field watching that unfold. Hunter, when's the last time that you sat through an Aggie football game and went, man, this is easy and low heart rate and low stress and it's fun?
I mean, I guess one that mattered, I mean, we had Mississippi State last year, right? But that was like a funeral march at that point,
That wasn't a good football team. We played a good team this time.
Man, yeah, other than that, I mean, with that atmosphere and that on the line, been a while.
I mean, I thought about that too. I'd say that LSU game. I mean, but again, we beat them handedly.
22.
They were, 22. But again, that was still. But that was coming at the end of a season that was just a awful.
A&M was 4-7 going into that game.
It was just awful. So, but to win that game did kind of propel us going into the next season. But this felt different. This, to me, felt so different finally, right?
It's if not that, you're going back to 18, Jimbo's first year with Kentucky or LSU.
But Kentucky, that was an overtime win.
Yeah, it was. Well, that right. It wasn't a dominant beatdown like that. I don't know.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. And I've said this multiple times on the show this morning. The last time I hosted the show was the Tuesday after Notre Dame. Boy, have the vibes switched. And Mike Elko, like he said in his introductory press conference, he said there's not an elevator to success. You got to take the stairs. And so you go back and you look at how the fan base reacted to that Notre Dame loss, and I'll have to say, as an analyst that sits in this chair and looked at it and went, man, that's overboard. And now this guy's got a plan, he's organized, and the team, the whole group just keeps getting better.
Yeah, talk about it's not going to be like it used to be, right? I mean,
and he's never said that.
To use a quote from a quote from someone else, It's different. This is what I'm like I said after Florida, I said, we would have lost that game.
Yeah.
Right? We would have lost that game with the old regime. I just feel like we would have. And we would not have seen a game like this. This seems to me like the first time in years where we actually, in most games, I feel like most games we go into, we have more talent than the other team does. But we never just blow their doors off. We blew their doors off. We talk about it. I mean, you're exactly right. The feelings we have, the optimism around here has shot through the roof. Everything is better. It's so funny. You got the people going rat poison versus let me dream kind of thing, right? It's beautiful. And that was a fantastic football game, start to finish. Every single aspect of the game. Offense was better. Defense was unbelievable. Special teams, that was one of the best punts I've ever seen. Yeah. Just all around, it was electric to be there. You're talking an 11 a.m. game. Kyle Field was completely packed. You had, it was loud. It was as loud an 11 a.m. kick as I've ever seen. And the fact that they fought all the way to that last little bit, that last, minute and a half of the game was just outstanding. That just shows that's the difference. I think that was kind of the telltale of the difference between what we do under this regime as previous ones, that they were not letting them in.
Right, and it says a lot about Elko too. Look who was playing that last drive there.
Look at his interaction with the fan base.
There were some starters
on that
in there.
last drive. Yeah, and Hunter, you've been to as many Texas A&M football games as anybody. There's something that you can see unfold, and part of being a fan. And to go back to your point, rat poison. Yeah. Rat poison isn't for the fans; it's for the guys in the locker room. Yeah, but there is a balancing act to we're confident because of what we've done, but not overconfident and. They haven't won anything yet.
Right.
So that's for the kids and the coaching staff. But for a fan, part of being a fan, right, is
the dream.
The dream.
The dream.
Yeah. Especially where we came from, right? We were down in the dumps after Notre Dame, right? That was tough to watch. Offense struggled. Defense, had a couple of plays to get away from them. Everybody was down on Connor. I said before the season, right? Connor Wigman's an elite quarterback. I said that.
He did say
and
it.
then I had to come back after Notre Dame and backed off because he had one stinker, right? It's probably a bad game plan. Kleins took some hits for that, right? Connor wasn't on his game. You got new system everywhere. Offensive line was just, getting used to it. The running backs weren't waiting for the holes. Nothing worked out that game. Since then, in a half against McNeese State, right? And then 3 quarters versus Missouri, the dude's thrown for 400-something yards, right? 2 touchdowns, and he's at an 82% click on his completion percentage. So I'm back on the elite quarterback.
Connor was outstanding, and the thing I give the most credit to is the coaching staff for putting him back out there. In my mind, I was thought to myself, okay, I still believe that Connor was the better quarterback, but I thought to myself, Marcel Reed had played so well. He's 3-0. He did everything he was asked to do. I thought to myself, Marcel Reed, this is what I was thinking. I was like, he's going to have to go out there, and if he plays a bad half or something, then they'll put Connor in. Then that's how Connor will get back into the lineup, right? No, because I thought for sure if Connor went out there and played poorly, then of course, but you got to give them credit. That takes cojones, I guess you could say, to sit there and go, okay, no, we're going back to our starter. We believe him. Of course. Look, they know what he's capable of. They see him every day in practice, right? They know way more than we do, okay? We don't really know anything. So trust the coaching staff, especially this one. And, for all those Connor naysayers, listen to McGee. McGee knows more about playing quarterback than any of you do, okay? And he thinks he's an elite quarterback. He breaks it down. He knows what he's talking about. And if he likes him, I love him. So,
Hunter, the start for Connor was so important.
Yeah.
The opening drive or 2 of the game was very important. And he's facing a 3rd down after the offsetting penalties, and he fires a strike on a no-window throw to Jabri Barber, who hangs on for a 1st down. From that moment on, I was like, all right, he's back.
That was the drag across the middle, right?
Yeah.
Which was pass interference, not called. The dude was like saddle on the back of the horse, man. Yeah. Great throw. And, again, He's had those starts, right? That's 3 games this year where Connor started accurate and fast. So Man, that was impressive. And all year, right? Klein is getting this offense in our first drives early in the game. We're successful and we're getting points. That's huge. Touchdown, too. Not a field goal right off the bat. So.
What has been your favorite part of this 5-game stretch, Matt?
Defense. I'm a defense. I like defense. I like good defense. I like watching good defense.
I love watching Nick Scorton play football.
Nick Scorton, Shamar has played, both Shamars have played really well. Scooby has been he's all over the field, it seems like, and there's certain games where he's all over the field. Will Lee was outstanding.
He's been awesome.
He was outstanding this game.
And I'll tell you who else has been good, not to cut you off, that nobody's talking about, that I think is playing at a really high clip, is Albert Regis.
Yes.
Oh, no doubt.
I think Albert Regis has been
awesome. I was about to say that. And you're seeing Des Ricks get better, too. You saw against Arkansas, they attacked him. Right, they went right after him, and so and I don't remember them throwing the ball his way a lot. Missouri didn't. Of course, Missouri didn't have a lot of time to do a whole lot of stuff.
He got turned around on that touchdown throw. He thought the ball was going to. He had two receivers kind of in the same area. But to your point, he had the interception against Arkansas, and he's a super talented kid that's starting to get some game reps under his belt, and so I only think that you're going to see that talent.
And he got the pick, didn't he?
Against Arkansas.
Yeah, against Arkansas. But again, hey, I did watch somebody say, well, look, his eyes were in the backfield. He saw that lineman come across, go too deep, then he broke off his route. I'll believe that. I'm going to take it. So I'm going to take that.
You, what's been your favorite part of this 5-game stretch?
I think just what we've overcome, right? You're 2 games into the season, and you're like, hey, we're going to Florida, and by the way, your backup quarterback's going to have to start here. So what this team's kind of overcome, you lose your starting center. During camp, we lost one of our 1A running backs. So I think with some setbacks, especially at the quarterback position, right, that matters. And what Marcel was able to come in and do, and that for this team and the defense to carry them and get to 5-1, before the season, you wouldn't know where that loss was going to come from. You're going to drop it to Notre Dame. Maybe you go to the swamp and get overwhelmed. Maybe Arkansas slips up on you. Missouri comes in here and beats you. But I think everybody could kind of see if we were 5-1 after this, going to the break, man, we are off to a great start. We are.
Oh, yeah. And I just think overall you've seen the entire group get better. And there's a thread on the boards right now where there's somebody talking about how this group is starting to remind them of the 2020 team where there wasn't a big superstar. You had a really quality back in Isaiah Spiller.
Yep.
But you didn't have any big. Kellen Mond was just a steady Eddie player at quarterback. Had a really good offensive line. There are just some similarities.
Yeah, we had a superstar on D. We had Marvin Leal, who was just outstanding. Antonio Johnson was on that team too. Those were 2 superstars on defense, but on the offensive side, yeah, you're exactly right. You had.
But I'd argue Nick Scorton is turning into DeMarvin Leal.
No doubt.
Yeah, he's been really, really good, but. I think for me, again, something else that is just it feels different, right? It just feels different. This is a different. There's a different attitude. It just feels different, and that's what we needed. We needed this team to feel different. We don't want the stuff of old, what we've been dealing with the last, towards the end of the Sumlin regime and the whole Jimbo thing. So 2020, yes, again, that was a fun time, but yeah, this has just been. It feels different. This team is locked in. I think they believe in this coaching staff, and this is what we needed. We needed a game like this big time. And
maybe it is pretty similar, right? You started out slow that year. We had a stinker against Vanderbilt, but won it. You lose at Alabama, so everybody's down the dumps, and then they start picking it up, and they figured out, hey, we can run the ball.
Maybe we need to.
And when they figured out they could run the ball. That team started.
We just need to play Florida the 3rd game of every season every year, right? That's what we need. If we just get Florida a 3rd game every year, we're going to be golden.
Well, to your point about running the football, the improvement of the offensive line has been the story for me of this team through 6 games. Yes, the entire group has gotten better, but because those 5 up front, really not even 5, we're talking about 7 or 8 different guys that have played a bunch. The cohesion of that group in pass protection and in the running game has been. That and then the secondary have been the biggest stark differences what we saw last year, but it's those 5 up front that have made the biggest difference to me.
In the 2 categories that everybody said was worried about coming in, right? And even Luch warned us, hey, These areas need to gel, O-line and secondary.
Yeah.
That's what he's worried
And
about.
they've been great.
Doing great. I mean, it matters who you hire, huh?
Hey,
so, Coach Cushing's pretty good.
They were so good that we were leaving the stadium. We got a quick story. So we're leaving the stadium, and I've been to a lot of SEC venues, and we always lose whenever I go. This is, like I said, the Florida game was the first SEC road trip I've been on that we won. And so we're walking out, and there's this little elderly couple. They're Missouri fans, decked head to toe in their.
Oh, I
their
thought you were
gear.
talking about Olin.
No, not Olin, but there's this elderly couple walking out of the stadium, and and I thought to myself, I remember how friendly a lot of the places we've been. They're like, hey, I know it didn't go your way, but thank y'all for coming, and they were always so nice. So I thought to myself, I'm just going to say something, and the old timer. I mean, these folks are probably in their 80s. I mean it, and they're kind of just waddling along, and I said, hey, how are y'all? And he just kind of looked at me, didn't say anything. I said, I know that probably didn't go your way, but did y'all at least have a good time? He goes, this old man stops dead in his tracks, looks at me, and goes, dropped an F-bomb on me. I wasn't ready for an F-bomb from an 80-something-year-old man. Goes, F no. And he goes, who would like that, SH? And I'm like, oh my gosh. I was like, oh, I understand. Yes, sir. Okay. And,
that had to been a tough one for Mizzou fans to take on the chin,
man.
especially. We'll go to break with this. We'll come back to talk about it on the other side. I've been saying that Eli Drinkwitz had a cornball week last week, and especially I think the attitude of the head coach and maybe some of the stuff that got taken a little out of context by Brady Cook permeated that fan base to where they walked into Kyle Field and thought that 41-10 scoreline was going to be flipped. So we'll talk about that on the other side of the break and more when we return with the Fan Show on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, welcome back, TexAgs Live. It's the fan show, as it is every Thursday during the 10 o'clock hour. We're going to get to this slate of games coming up this weekend, unless you guys have any lingering points that you want to make about Saturday. I know Jones, I called you Jones. Hunter, you wanted to talk about Big Shot.
Oh, quick. So last Friday we had our TexAgs Big Shot, right? It's our charity clay shoot, which benefits big brothers, big sisters. TexAgs has been a partner of ours in this for over a dozen years, and a big reason we have success. Raised a bunch of money, shot clays, had steaks, cigars, and cold beer afterwards, so it was good. So if you missed it this year, come join us next year.
You know, I got a baseball dad of mine that I coach. He said there's only two kinds of beer, hot and cold.
That's right.
That's right.
Hey, Hunter can shoot. I got to give him credit. So
well, I know my boy Nuno's going on some bird dog hunt. Apparently, he needs to come see me because I know that
he's
dude.
so city slicker.
I know
the video of this coming out is going to be fantastic.
I'm going to have to tutor him before he goes.
I just don't want him to Dick Cheney somebody out there.
I think I'm going to have to pony up and pay just so I can go watch this.
All right, it's the fan show presented by Prize Picks. Going to have that coming up with Matthew Dawson here at the bottom of the hour. TexAgs Live presented by David Gardner's Jewelers inside the Raw Insurance Studios. Don't forget to call or interact with the show, 979-693-1150, the Boss Firearms Hotline, Little Sluggers text line. We got to talk about this slate of games. I love that A&M's going into a bye week, guys. We got our feet up,
relaxed,
feeling good,
yes.
And there's some good ball on TV. Hunter, maybe the game you're looking forward to the most.
I mean, Missouri at UMass? Come on. You're going to Amherst, Massachusetts?
Imagine you.
I don't even know how that
Imagine
happens.
you already bought the plane tickets to College Station. You're undefeated. You're excited, and then hey, this is going to be a good Mizzou team. We're going to go to UMass. So there are going to be some people at UMass that were in College Station last week.
Yeah.
Miserable.
Yeah.
17,000 capacity stadium. Even OU Texas, right? That's probably going to be the number one game that Aggie fans are going to watch. There's a lot of times, rivalry, they throw the records out the window. This is a weird rivalry, and you really can't do that.
I think Texas is about to blow their doors
I agree
off.
with you.
Oklahoma can't score.
We thought that last year, though, too.
They did. They got the new Hawkins, new quarterback, so maybe that helps a little bit. Their O-line struggling. This is not a game that's looking good for OU, but things happen. The one I'm probably most excited about is y'all talked about it earlier, but Ole Miss LSU. That's going to be fun to watch.
We're going to learn something about one of those teams. Or maybe a lot about both.
I'm going to take the over. I know it was some 60-something points. I'll still take the over there.
Yeah. I don't know that LSU can stop a nosebleed on defense.
Right.
No, mine is OU Texas. It's again, everyone thought the same exact thing last year, and I mean OU won that football game. So I mean in Texas, I think there was a higher point spread last year than there is this year.
It's
14, by the way.
14 and a half. I think that's the number on it right now. Yeah. But my deal is that last year, the gulf in class between the quarterbacks was not as great as it is this year. Quinn Ewers versus Malik Hawkins, it was a lot closer with Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah.
I think Texas is better up front on both sides of the ball, and I think Quinn Ewers and those playmakers. Oklahoma's got a good defense. I think this is the best offense they've seen. I think Texas wins by 17, 21 points.
To me, it's just one of those things. Rivalry games like this, you just never know what you're going to get. I think that this is. I think that Texas will win probably, but I still think that it is possible that OU could come through.
And my sneaky good game is Florida at Tennessee. Florida's horrible. That's a stinky. No, they're not. Are they struggling? They got a coach under the hot seat? Absolutely. If Graham Mertz plays,
he's played pretty well.
If they would have kept him in our game, that's a lot closer game because he was tearing us up, and
I think Lagway's a sensational talent, but Mertz clearly gives him the best chance to move the football.
His completion percentage is phenomenal. Yeah. I bet it's close to 85% or 90% this year.
I hope you're right because my feeling going into this one is Tennessee's mad and wants to prove something.
But one thing about Tennessee is I think that a lot of people are still living off that preseason expectation of what they should be. Their offense hasn't been great. Mm-hmm. They haven't, and Nico has been, we're about to do prize picks, he's been less than in a lot of weeks.
Yeah.
And everybody keeps expecting them to break out because it's Josh Heupel and Nico's super talented, but at some point we're halfway through the season now. If it hasn't happened, we got to start asking questions about the volunteer offense.
Hey, did you know that he played volleyball?
That's kind of like Ron Williams being 17 years old.
I mean, kiddo, we know, thank you.
And if Bama was at South Carolina, you'd be like, oh, but
I think South Carolina's about to be on the wrong end of a bad one.
I agree. It's in Tuscaloosa. Bama's going to be mad. That's
very angry. South Carolina was pretty fired up about Lenore Sellers coming back last week. Did you watch any of that Ole Miss South Carolina game?
I did. Oh,
they
wow.
They were putrid on offense.
Horrible.
Now, Ole Miss may be way better on defense than we've ever seen them be, but South Carolina was bad. And then they tried the weird fake punt. I got questions about Shane Beamer. And A&M's got to go to Columbia. It'll be interesting to see what kind of Gamecock team that's going to be when A&M goes in there in terms of what's their record, what do they have to play for, how motivated will they be. Dangerous spot, yeah, for the Aggies. But I think a lot about South Carolina's season will be determined in these next couple of weeks.
And what I've seen from South Carolina so far is we match up really well against them, even on the road. I mean, the fact you run the football the way we run the football. So that is a game that is, as a fan, keeps me, that is a little bit scary.
Yeah, he's a little bit like your boy Drinkowitz, right? If he's your coach, you're probably you're tolerating him, but when he's not, you're like, he's a little quirky. That's cheesy.
I forgot what to ask y'all about
the
blanket thing. I mean, he had a cornball week. That's what I've been saying. Like, they clearly planted that blanket in Theo Weiss's room. Then he calls Connor Wigman, the other guy, and said, he told not only the gathered media, but I listened to a couple of Mizzou podcasts of their media members who said, yeah, I asked Drinkowitz point blank if they had prepared for both quarterbacks, and he said they had prepared for Marcel Reed. And if you did that as the head coach, boy, you're getting paid a lot of money.
Yeah. If that's your excuse, then that's pretty poor.
Yeah, Wigman as the starter was semantics.
I mean, that's just bad coaching. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Well,
I mean,
the blanket thing, like, that's so juvenile.
I mean,
is that a motivational tactic for a 21-year-old kid?
So we know for sure that we didn't sit that
I
Willie
got
didn't
a
sit
hard
that.
time knowing how Mike Elko operates.
Well, what does it say about Theo Weiss and his IQ that he believes it and he's wearing it to the stadium? I mean, it's a
bad
look. You're dumb. That's just dumb.
I'm not going to
on
make
everybody's side. That's dumb coaching. That's just dumb.
Yeah, it was there was like a whole charade.
It was like this really like a Lane Kiffin type.
And that's why if you're a Mizzou fan that made the trip to College Station last week, you got to be going, what did I sign up for? Walking out of the stadium, you're like, all week we did all this stuff with Brady Cook and Eli Drinkowitz and Theo Weiss, and then we show up and play like that.
Yeah.
Like, I think I would have a lot of trust issues if I were a Mizzou fan.
Yeah, I mean, you got 80-year-old people dropping F-bombs on me, so yeah.
All right, we're going to go to break early right here. When we come back, we're going to do some prize picks. Matthew Dawson will be in here. Do a little more or less. We got a big sheet. You guys have it. Get it prepped and ready. We continue on with the Fan Show on the other side of the break. You're listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, welcome back to TexAgs Live. Fan show presented by Prize Picks. I want to clarify something. The read that I had to start the hour about Prize Picks talked about a Prize Picks giveaway for September. I assume that it transferred to October. It does not. So if you're looking for that free play of Caleb Williams 1-yard passing, it is no longer available, although I did believe as we welcome in Matthew Dawson, who's sitting over in the Angry Elephant News and Social Center, I do believe it hit every week, Matthew.
Well, yeah. I mean, as a Bears fan who watched every game, I did, hold my breath every single time he dropped back to pass. And, it hit all 4 times.
So make sure you send your picks to Roy. So Roy is out today. He is dealing with a medical thing. So
hope everything's okay. I don't think it's anything big, but
no, it's nothing big. Everything's fine. But he's taking care of a loved one. So all good. So
all right. So we have the board in front of us. I have hastily gone through and done my more or less than, but we're going to let Matthew present them, and we'll go through them as a group, and hopefully we pick a bunch of winners.
Of course. And the way Prize Picks works is you're going to take these player squares, you look at these numbers, player statistics. Hey, if you like more than or less than, you add them to your lineup between 2 to 6 players, and you just win money, right? Using code TexAgs, $5 or any kind of deposit, and you play $5, we'll get you $50 in free play from them. So that is a fantastic deal.
Great slate of games, too.
Great slate of games.
Let's get into it.
All right, here we go. Miller Moss, the quarterback of USC, is playing against Penn State at home. Is going to have more than or less than 244.5 passing yards.
Hey, Big Ten schools that are going 1 or more time zone or 2 or more time zones have really struggled, like 1 and 7.
That's a really good stat, Bronny.
I wanted to talk about that in the last segment, but I'm going less than Miller Moss.
Okay.
I think Penn State's pretty good on defense.
Yeah, I think they are too. But I've gone. So my strategy thus far this year is going against my gut since I'm so bad at this. So I'm going to go more than.
Fade yourself.
I like Miller Moss also more than.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong either way. I don't have an edge on this, to be honest. I mean, Penn State, they do have an injury in the secondary. USC gets him at home, but he also struggled against Minnesota last week. So,
and again, I do think I think Penn State's pretty good, and I feel like USC may be playing from behind too.
So you don't have like padlock stats on all these to help us?
Well, I guess the padlock stat in this game would be that Miller Moss threw for 200 yards against a Minnesota secondary that is garbage. But it was on the road.
Yeah, that's right.
So here we go.
Thanks, Matthew.
Next one, let's go. Will Howard, the quarterback of Ohio State, playing against Oregon on the road. Another Big Ten team traveling time zones. He's going to have more than or less than 246.5 passing yards.
I'm going to go less than this time because I think that I just think, like I said, like you said, those Pac-12 schools are kind of giving them fits. It seems like so.
Will Howard less than.
I'm going more than. I think if Ohio State's going to win the game, they're going to have to do it through the air. We'll have a couple picks from that game a little bit later. I'm a believer in Ohio State and their roster. I do not believe in Oregon right now.
I don't believe in
I don't
Oregon
believe in
either.
Will Howard is my problem.
Well, I guess Stephen McGee on our Pick 'em and Rip 'em show yesterday, he agrees with you. He took the less than on Will Howard. I'm not sure he's a huge Will Howard. I think he likes Will Howard, but against Oregon.
I like the weapons more than I like Will Howard.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think a lot of quarterbacks can do well in that system and with that talent. Next quarterback, Garrett Nussmeier, the quarterback of LSU, is going to have more than or less than 302.5 passing yards against Ole Miss at home.
This number jumped, right?
It jumped. It was at 297 earlier this week.
Yeah, that's a big number, man. It's a very big number for what we normally, when we're normally looking at this sheet, that's a big number.
I mean, LSU can't run the ball, so they're going to be passing. I'm still going to say less than.
I'm going to say less than. I like Ole Miss's defense.
So. Well, you like Ole Miss's defense, and that's fine. They've been good. I'm going more than because what quarterbacks has Ole Miss played? None of them that can.
Lenore Sellers
and whoever the kid is at Kentucky. Yeah, Brock Vandegrift.
Oh, yeah, he's horrible.
So I'm going more than.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a good call.
Yeah, that's not crazy. He's hit that number 4 of his 5 games this season. So.
All right, I'm changing. I'm going back to more.
You're changing?
More.
That just made me solidify my answer. I'm staying less than still.
All righty. Next quarterback, Dylan Gabriel, going back to the Oregon-Ohio State game. Is he going to have more than or less than 258.5?
I think this one's easy. I think this is the stone cold lock. I say more than.
More than.
Less than.
I
do not believe in Oregon yet. Dylan Gabriel is on Olin's top 5 Heisman list. I don't think he should be there yet. If he plays well this weekend, then yeah, we'll talk about him in that discussion.
All right.
I think
But I'm still in wait-and-see mode on Oregon and Dylan Gabriel.
I think he's going to get rocked. Anytime he gets interior pressure, he kind of crumbles. And the only reason he didn't do that last year against Texas is because they didn't have the edge rushers to keep him in the pocket. Ohio State with Jack
They're
Sawyer
loaded.
and Tuimoloau.
Yeah.
I mean, they're low. I think Dylan Gabriel's in for a rough one. But we'll see. We'll see. Let's go to the running backs now. Sticking with Oregon, Jordan James, starting running back there. He's going to have more than or less than 77.5 rushing yards.
I say less than because I think they're going to have to throw.
Yeah, I'm less than too, but I'm not familiar with these running backs. Like I haven't been watching them.
He has hit he's hit more than 77.5 rushing yards in like every game by a lot.
I'm going
tells
more
you
because I think whatever success they will have, they're going to have to force feed him to try to set up something late. So I think maybe he gets to 65 at halftime, and then I would feel comfortable about him chasing 12 yards in the second half.
Right. You're hoping for, not a terribly negative game script, too, for that one. Let's go to the next one. Quinshawn.
No. Go ahead. This is where I wanted to go.
Quinshawn Judkins, running back for Ohio State. He's going to have more than or less than 64.5 rushing yards.
This is where the padlock, stone cold, more than.
Okay.
Love
Did you see what Ashton Genty did to the Oregon defense?
Yeah, I agree with it. Plus, he's running well. I mean, he's averaging more than this right now.
Yeah, he's a talent. So I say I'm going to agree with them on this one and say more than as well.
I think both of those running backs there could have more than 64.5 rushing yards. Because I think Travion Henderson, his number's at 55.5 right now, so you do have to consider that. But I think both of them can hit the more than. DJ Giddens, the running back for Kansas State, playing against Colorado on the road, is going to have more than or less than 99.5 rushing yards.
I'm going less than. That's just a big number. This is a guess. I have no idea.
I don't believe in Colorado, but that is too much. I'm going less than too.
I don't know.
I don't know if they played 5 or 6 games. He's got 600 yards already. He's broken off a couple.
I'll take more. Why not?
Kansas State is so bad on the road. Their offense looked. I know Avery Johnson had an absolute nightmare of a game at BYU, but they never tried to get him in any sort of rhythm with the running game. I think that number's a little bit too high for a road game for this KSU team.
Yeah, I don't know. I like DJ Giddens. Also, I think that Colorado defensive lines definitely made some upgrades in the offseason. You saw it against UCF, but I think Avery Johnson's a little bit more dynamic than KJ Jefferson. I don't know. I think
he can't throw.
He can't throw, but in terms of like that run game, give him something else to look for.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Not one I have a super edge on. Katron Allen, the running back for Penn State. And notice how I didn't put Nick Singleton on there because he's kind of been battling an injury, but he's likely going to play this weekend. Is Katron Allen going to have more than or less than 68.5 rushing yards?
Less.
Man, this is tough because, he's kind of the number 2 running back on that team.
Mm-hmm.
But they're pretty similar. He actually has more carries. I'm going to go more than.
I'm at less. I think Nick Singleton's going to play, and I think he's going to play well. And I think this new look Penn State offense with Andy Kotelnicki will use the play-action game to get vertical off of Nick Singleton runs, not so much Katron Allen.
Yeah, and the reason why Katron Allen has more carries is because Nick Singleton did not play in their game last week. So that is part of that stat there. Next one, let's go to the receivers. Ryan Williams, is he going to have more than or less than 73.5 receiving yards against South Carolina at home?
More.
Less.
Whoa.
Ooh.
Well, I've gone against him every time,
You're
and
just
he's
being
burning.
recalcitrant
Eventually, I'm going to get this one right.
okay.
Right?
Dude, that's one catch for him.
I know.
That's a
He's
4-yard out route.
Do you know he's only 17?
Don't start.
that.
Would have never
Don't
guessed.
start. More than.
How good was SEC shorts this week, by the way?
It was good.
That was fantastic.
Yep.
Those boys are good.
All right, Tez Johnson, the wide receiver for Oregon, slot receiver guy. He's going to have more than or less than 83.5 receiving yards.
Less.
More.
Quick.
Ooh, wait, who said more?
Hunter.
No, I did.
No, Matt did.
Matt did.
Matt went more. It's going to be a gap. You're either going to crush it this week or you're going to be way behind.
Honest to God, the only reason I picked more is because y'all both said less.
Travis Hunter, speaking of a guy who hits a lot of mores, is going to have more than or less than 98.5 receiving yards against Kansas State at home.
I've gone against him every week, so I'm finally going to go with him. Travis Hunter, I'm going with more.
That's your inverse line of thinking for Ryan Williams.
Yes, correct.
I'm
so
also
I'm
more.
finally switching it.
He produces every week.
Travis Hunter's been on the sheet every week. Ryan Williams hasn't. So
More.
I gotta catch up.
I'm going more too. Don't love K-State's back end. I think Shadur Sanders and when he gets in a bind, the ball's going to Travis Hunter. I think this game could be close, so I think the ball will get thrown his way a lot.
I like that. Last one for the day, Jeremiah Smith, the freshman wide receiver for Ohio State, playing against Oregon again, going back to that game. He's going to have more than or less than 69.5 receiving yards.
More. Will Howard will have more than 246.5 passing, and a lot of it, I think Jeremiah Smith may go for 100 yards.
Yeah, I'm saying more. He's actually not their leading receiver, but he's kind of like Ryan Williams. When he does catch it, he catches big balls.
So because they both said more, I'm going to go with less.
Like that.
Infallible
Love that play.
logic.
That's a great strategy.
I will say, like, whenever the desk completely agrees on something, I think the overall record's like 3 and like 12 or
50,
something.
yeah.
So you have a spreadsheet for all this?
I do have a spreadsheet, so I actually got to double check that stat, but it is pretty horrendous. So
Yeah, when we all agree, it always goes wrong.
So,
I may have just helped y'all out.
That's all I got, though, folks. Good luck this week.
Matthew.
Thank you. When we come back, we'll give away pizza and close the show. You're listening to TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Final segment of the show on Thursday, TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Still sitting in the Rollo Insurance Studios. Time to end the day with Double Dave's. Caller number 12 at 979-693-1150 will hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave, serving Aggieland and beyond since 1984. Your favorite pizza and world-famous pepperoni rolls with reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click doubledaves.com and your favorites are on the way. Juan Palomo, do you have anything for us to end the show over there at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center?
I've got this one text from the YouTube chat. Says, our offense against Mizzou was incredibly balanced. What has Colin Klein done differently to balance us?
I think it's always been his MO.
Yeah.
I just think they're executing it. Not to borrow a word from previous regimes, but you have seen, like I said, we've seen everybody get better with this team.
Yeah, so O-line's gotten – I mean, of course, the O-line really came out. I think they played well against Notre Dame. I did. So I think – but the idea of Connor playing well – we've run the ball well all year. Yeah, I think it was just a matter of quarterback coming out and having a really good game and getting the receivers getting open. And I think that's really what boiled down to.
Yeah, he's done well. The plays have been there. This team just took a while to start executing, and he had a backup quarterback in there. So,
And there were plays when you go back, and I'm really not trying to take anything away from Marcel because what a story he's been so far.
Oh, Marcel's been great.
There were some plays against Bowling Green, against Florida, against Arkansas that just his inexperience caused him to miss. Like guys running. There was a play against Arkansas where Ja'Day Walker is running 30 yards wide open down the middle of the field, and just Marcel, for whatever reason, comes off the read, or maybe the game's still a little bit quick for him, and he trusts his legs a little bit. But so maybe it's all of that. And Connor just sees the game a little bit better. So if you go back and look, you're so thankful for those wins that Marcel led you to, but you also look at it and go, man, there's stuff there. There's plays to be made. And how many times on Saturday did we see Connor throwing to open receivers? You saw him make tight window throws as well as to open receivers. We haven't seen that.
Yeah, that throw that he made to the one that you talked about to Barber, that first drive. I mean, there was no window. How many guys in college football today can make that throw? In that, with pocket collapsing around you and burn that ball in there like he did. So I mean, that's the difference. That to me, that moved the chains. That kept the drive going. Those little things like that are big. I mean, not many guys can make that throw. I mean, nothing against Marcel. Marcel's a great quarterback, but I haven't seen him make a throw like that yet. So.
Well, hopefully he gets to the point where he can.
He will.
But right now, he's just not there.
No, he's a freshman, and he's gonna have a big career, I think. So I'm excited about him in the future.
And one of the things that I don't think we've talked a lot about, and you highlighted it, I believe earlier, Matt, was just the special teams play. Obviously the punt from Tyler White, but he has been a massive weapon. He was so good against Arkansas, SEC Special Teams Player of the Week. And Randy Bond just kind of keeps ticking along where we're not talking about the field goal kicker right now.
Great kid, too. Randy's a real we met him through the FCA stuff, and so he is just a wonderful – he really is a good kid.
Yep. Now we're just waiting on Busty to bust one of these days.
I've been really thrilled with how they're using Terry, and they've just kind of steadily brought him along. Again, it's kind of been hit ad nauseum, but 2A school, did everything for Timpson, had never focused on one position. So him learning how to play wide receiver after coming to campus as a DB and learning a complete new offense and the nuance of the position, as good as he is, it's not going to click like that. Yeah. So they just keep adding to his plate little by little.
I wish he was 17.
Yeah, that was like halfway through camp they made that switch too. So yeah, there's going to be some learning curve.
Yeah.
But yeah, you see him in the backfield now, still wide out. So
he's electrifying.
Yeah, he's got a big game coming. I don't think there's any question about it. Like at some point, whether it be, I hope it's against Mississippi State, but if they just keep bringing him along, you got to feel like between now and the end of the season, because of the type of player that he is, he's going to have a day where he's going to be SEC Freshman of the Week, and everybody's going to go, where'd this kid come from? Nationally.
We finally started throwing to him downfield. I mean, he caught a couple balls downfield as opposed to just the.
But I think that's part of adding to his progression, right?
Yeah,
like letting him run down the field a little bit more, where he's more comfortable in what he's doing and what he's seeing on the field. So
has he played any DB at all? No, he's not. No, he's a full offensive.
I don't know. Now that watching him with the ball in his hands, I don't know that he'll ever play a snap of defense. Hopefully you're recruiting to a level where you don't have to run him out there on the other side.
Agreed.
All right, Matt, Hunter, thank you guys as always.
Good job, Bronny.
I enjoyed the day. Nick hosting tomorrow. Stay tuned if you're on TexAgs. We got a couple of Aggie baseball players waiting in the lobby. Going to have a little interview with them here in just a second. Be on the site a little bit later. But thanks for tuning in to TexAgs Live. We were presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.